Forget about the banner. Forget about the ring. It's Ray Day. That's what it is. Dare we call it a triumphant return, Ray?
I wouldn't.
Welcome back, Pookie.
Listen, I turned the microphone on. My work here is done.
I mean, we are off to a rousing start in that one act alone. Welcome to all of you. Welcome back, Ray. Ray, fresh off swimming with the dolphins in Mallorca. Cocoa butter tan lines ready to go. Relaxed, centered. Feeling good?
I have no idea what you just said.
Amin El Hassan is going to join us today talking about the coming NBA season. We've got Peter King at 5 o'clock for a normal Tuesday conversation with the king of all NFL media, and we got ourselves a very big basketball game happening at Chase Center tonight. Again, it's ring night for the players. Everybody else gets the banner. The banner is for you, Warriors fans. They get rings, you get a banner, you get memories, and starting tonight, I'm going to say that getting back to basketball, Ray, has probably never meant as much to the Warriors during the entire run of this dynasty. I'm sure that the season feels like it's partially coming too soon, yet at the same time couldn't come soon enough when Draymond Green sort of started a new timeline of the offseason a couple of Wednesdays ago. So tonight is a night that this entire organization needs, and it's going to create a little basketball equilibrium for them once again. And they haven't had that for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah, but he solved a lot of problems for them when you think about this, because I think they were sort of two minds about how they wanted to handle this year. And the swiftness with which they got the Poole deal done and then the Wiggins deal done sort of indicated to me that they'd made up their mind, that whatever agonies there are left about what decisions there were to make were taken care of last week, because Wiggins took a pay cut, which stuns me because he didn't have to take one. He shouldn't have had to. And Poole got overpaid, but he got overpaid because they need him more than they ever have before.
I think they needed to pay him to stick around, to not be curious about opportunities in other cities. And it's one of those, we're really investing in you, and there is no doubt about that.
But it's not just him they invested in. It's the concept of the other young guys too, which is you do well, you do what we ask, we'll reward you. What Draymond Green did was accelerate that timeline, because I think they would have waited a while on Poole.
So I got it the other way around. They had all the room in the world to wait on Wiggins. If they didn't get an extension done with Poole before yesterday, it couldn't be done. So I think it could. Because I still believe that they could have said, we'll overpay whoever comes at you.
Well, he was a restricted free agent. I think the Wiggins thing is just that, that's a bonus Christmas present. That could have happened any time. I mean, it works. But the fact that they got him done was kind of an indication, at least to my pinheaded way of thinking, that they said, you're going to be the new Draymond. You won't do it the same way he did, but you're going to be the guy who guards the best player on the other team. That's going to be your new role. And I think he's going to get his money on the back end, after this deal runs its course. I think he's the one who'll get the reward, because he did them a huge solid last week.
You got a lot of people who would tell you that Andrew Wiggins got his money that he might not have earned or deserved on the front end of his deal, which made him take the haircut here because he wants to remain a Warrior, and I think he wants to remain someone that contributes to their level of competitive nature, both on the court and in the docket as well, where his number won't be scored nearly as heavily as it could have been. And that is, it's very rare that a NBA star in his prime leaves a little money on the table.
But coming off the year he came off.
Right. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not even sure he had a great year as much as he had a spectacular playoffs. And I guess since one so trumps the other, it really doesn't even matter. You're sort of mincing words at this point. I believe that the decisions on Poole and Wiggins were set in motion long before Draymond Green and Jordan Poole got into any altercation. Before this team went to Japan, I think these decisions might have been made. But maybe the Draymond situation fast-tracked it. And I do think there's a little bit of a message sent. I think that Draymond is now on full notice that you've got 82 or 164 remaining regular season games with the Warriors. The 82 are assured. The following 82 after that will be, dealer's choice. What do you want to do, Draymond? Do you want to stay for the dollar amount agreed to in the player option? Or do you really want to go take your business to the open market and see if you can't get nearly the year-over-year return, but still have a multiple-year contract that'll pay a lot more than the $27 million that he could opt into? So it's a fascinating scale that the Warriors are trying to, either balance out or put their thumb on to make sure it weighs properly. But we got ourselves actual basketball happening tonight. Not just at Chase Center, but we're tipping off the NBA season. And I'll tell you that 3 of the 4 teams in play tonight could be your NBA champion. 76ers and Celtics is awfully interesting as the early part of this doubleheader. And then the Warriors and Lakers. Folks, the Lakers are not among the teams that I think could be NBA champions. What they look like tonight. Have we got any word on whether or not Russell Westbrook is even playing? Because I know he had a hammy up in Sacramento. He is probable. Do they dare bring him off the bench on opening night? Could that probable turn into out if they tell him, hey, you're coming off the bench? Wait, drama before we even hand in our first lineup of the year, Ray. You got to love the NBA.
Yeah, the Lakers drama, though, is largely manufactured. I mean, everybody knows what they have to do. And they've been putting this off forever and ever and ever. But I think...
everyone knows what they have to do. I don't think anyone knows how they can do it, though.
No. I'm talking about how they handle Westbrook. I think that's going to take... But I think that's going to take care of itself pretty quickly. Because he is going to come off the bench. And he may not be happy. But they're not going to be a relevant team again. And I think even with LeBron James, who is its own...
Year 20. Year 20 for LeBron.
I mean, it's going to be a sour way to end in much the same way that Kobe Bryant's last year as a player was a sour way to end. I mean, I'm playing on a team that used to be great all the time and is no longer, and I'm playing out the string, and my last game I'm going to take 60 shots. That's how this looks. And I think people are going to have to force themselves to watch that team because they are not good. And they're not interesting to watch.
I totally disagree. I think they will be interesting. Even in their demise, they're interesting. But they might be a little bit better than we think. Because we have seen LeBron James and Anthony Davis plus whoever win an NBA championship. LeBron James and Anthony Davis plus whoever is kind of the formula that they have right now. To be NBA champions, I don't think so. But a touch better than a back of the Western Conference also ran. I do believe that they could be that. We'll see what it all starts to look like tonight. By the way, we got Yankees and Guardians. This game is now in the 6th inning. The Yankees are leading 5-1. Winner of that game will meet the Houston Astros in the ALCS. We got the NLCS, which is officially going to start tonight. So Phillies and Padres, the fighting Melvins. We got an awful lot to talk about, and there's still plenty of concern around the 49ers after a very disappointing weekend in Atlanta. Ray, you were out yesterday, so we haven't heard your thoughts on the 49ers at all. We will get to that today, but we've got, like I said, Amin El-Hassan coming up a little bit later on, Peter King a little bit later on. MLB's postseason is happening. NBA's regular season is starting. We're getting deeper and deeper into the NFL season, so that's starting to work itself out. The Denver Broncos not working themselves out. And for the very first time, we have an NFL owner going on the record publicly doubting Daniel Snyder's long-term place in this league. What does that mean? Does it mean anything? Is it a throwaway headline, or is it really just another move on the chessboard to the slow-moving coup that is going to have Daniel Snyder removed as an NFL owner? The whole thing is fascinating. I mean, it really is. So we're going to try to take it all apart.
And don't forget what the Houston Texans did yesterday.
I was saving that for you because, honestly, I got to tell you, Jack Easterby helped get us through the pandemic. There was nothing going on when we were doing shows from home except for like 3 weeks in a row. We complained about Jack Easterby. He gone.
Yeah, he never saved as many souls when he was the chaplain for the Patriots as he did during that time.
He saved our souls.
But it's amazing how poorly that team was run and how swiftly the coup happened when it did. Because Nick Caserio, who worked with Easterby in New England, is the guy who clearly got that done. I think he walked into Cal McNair and said, I don't want to have to report to this guy anymore.
Do you see John McClain basically said that even though he abdicated all of his GM responsibilities, he was still calling other teams, acting as Houston Texans GM?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, he was a level of fraud that I think is hard to find in a world now where you could trace every activity anybody makes.
Shall we celebrate it at some point today?
Well, is there any alcohol?
We can work on that. It's good to have Ray
Lucas
back.
Bevmo.
We are ready to go. Lucas Bevmo, Battle Stations. Here we are on a Tuesday afternoon. It is a great time to be a Bay Area sports fan, and the Warriors, it's unbelievable. I can't believe I'm saying this. They've become the ultimate winners. How do they keep it going? We're going to get into all of that as we come on back here. Amin Elhassan a little bit later on this hour. Peter King at 5 o'clock. We're brought to you by BMW Fairfield. Visit bmwfairfield.com today to book your visit. And we need to let you know that Damon and Ratto right now, we're streaming on Twitch. We're on YouTube. And you can bask in the glory that is. Why? Well, that's entirely up to you. But you can watch this.
Yeah, just don't tell anybody you've done it because you will have shame to deal with.
Cloaked in shame. It is good to have Ray back. It's good to have you here. Damon and Ratto, 95.7 The Game.
We've been waiting for this night for months.
First 3 ball of the year for the Warriors and for Stephen Curry.
It's ring night for the NBA champs.
Holy cannoli.
And what better opponent than LeBron James and the Lakers?
Not 5, not 6, not 7. Curry drives on James all the way, goes up and scores! He beat him to the rim! What a move by Curry!
And it only happens here. On the home of the champs.
Yes.
95.7 The Game.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required. Refund available for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/JOY.
For 25 years, Buy Right Market in San Francisco has partnered with purveyors of deliciousness to bring you local food that adds a dash of unique to every meal and celebration. Hi friends, this is Jamie, Buy Right's head of product. And this season, whether you're planning an elaborate meal, watching the game, heading to a friend's, or cozying up for a night in, Buy Right will help you savor what matters most. Pre-order your holiday meals at buyrightmarket.com or stop by and discover something unique for yourself. Gather, share, and enjoy with Buy Right.
If you own a business, this has been a bumpy ride. From pandemic to inflation, I'm sure you could use a break. If your business has 5 or more employees and survived COVID, you might be eligible to receive a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee. The challenge is getting your hands on it. Hi, I'm Howard Mackler, and that's why I founded GetRefunds.com to cut through the red tape and get you the money. The team of tax attorneys we have put together are highly trained in this little-known payroll tax refund program. We do all the work, charge not a dime up front, and simply share a percentage of the cash that we get for you. Businesses of all types can qualify, including those that took PPP, nonprofits, and even those that had increases in sales. We have helped return over $1 billion to businesses, and we can help you too. Just go to getrefunds.com/sports, click on Qualify Me, and answer a few questions. This payroll tax refund is only available for a limited period of time. Don't lose out on up to $26,000 per employee. Go to getrefunds.com/sports. That's getrefunds.com/sports.
Tune in to 95.7 The Game for Warriors Live, 90 minutes before tip-off of every Warriors game. Brought to you by Xfinity Sports Zone, the ultimate hub for everything sports, with live games, shows, news, and highlights, all in one place. Only with Xfinity X1.
This football season, adopt a new tradition that's sure to turn fans into family. The Jim Beam Highball. That's beam and soda over ice with a lemon slice. Share one at the stadium or make one at home. Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2022, James B. Beam Distilling Company, Claremont, Kentucky. Drink smart.
San Mateo, partly cloudy tonight with a low of 58.
Weather brought to you by Pfizer and BioNTech. This fall, there are now updated COVID-19 booster shots designed for recent Omicron variants. Learn more and schedule your updated booster at vaccines.gov.
Big O Tires proudly sells its own brand of affordable tires, and each set comes standard with the nation's greatest warranty. Now through October 30th, save $100 instantly on select Big O brand tires with installation purchase. Visit your locally owned Big O Tire store for offer details.
Jamie's log. Progressive. The Harrington's backyard. Day 4, 2:18 a.m. I've been camping outside the Harrington house for 4 days now, proving that Progressive has 24/7 protection. Mr. Harrington says I don't need to do this since Progressive protects 24/7 is a pretty easy concept to grasp, but I'm going to stay and prove my point. Besides, there's a big tree branch over the roof, and I think it's planning something.
Progressive doesn't just offer a great price when you bundle home and auto. We offer round-the-clock protection, just not literally from Jamie. Coverage from Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers, and subject to policy terms. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
You're the one who protects the flock, and that requires an eye for detail. Because when safety and well-being are on the line, it's the details that can save lives. Even when no one else is watching, you see everything. Grainger gets you, and we're here for you, and all the ones who get it done with a wide range of safety products and solutions, plus board-certified safety consultants here to answer your questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Dancing crew, trip for 2, nail the final interview. Game with Doug, brand new mug. Come here, kid, give me a hug. The more you want to do, the more we want to do. Boosters designed for COVID-19 variants are now available. If you've had your primary series, schedule an updated COVID-19 booster appointment as soon as you're eligible. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
1 pill in the morning, 24 hours, 0 heartburn with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
Now back to Damon and Ratto. Take it away, Damon.
Steph Curry with the toss. How about that? It is good to have you here. Thank you so much for stopping on by. And let me tell you that Trimark has been partnering with independent restaurateurs in Northern California now for over 55 years. Trimark brings you innovative product solutions to help your hospitality business thrive. You can learn more at TrimarkWest.com. I didn't know we had Steph doing liners for the show. You would have think I might have planned it with a T-shirt that I'm being called out on. UC Steve on YouTube is saying, boy, Damon loves a free T-shirt. It says, in Steph we trust. Warriors World, I think, dropped off a whole bunch of free stuff and did it for the morning show, meaning that usually everything is gone by the time I get in here. So it was the one T-shirt I have. And let me tell you, it doesn't, not only does it deliver a message that I fully believe in, it's like, it's nice cotton. It's like, it feels like a good T-shirt. Feels nice on my nipples.
It was actually Kyle Madsen. Shout out being active on Twitter.
Shout it out.
And he was kind enough to take what he wanted, and they sent so much stuff over that he shared the rest with the rest of the station.
Very nice. Thank you very much, Kyle. I was listening to his Candlestick Chronicles podcast today, so let me go full circle and bring it all around to promotion for everyone. I like the T-shirt. Do I wear it that often, though? I've like 10 to 15 T-shirts, and if you see one, you'll see it again in about 10 to 15 days. That's sort of how I roll.
I don't hear much time being spent on laundry.
No, we don't. So here from the Xfinity Mobile text line says, Damon, time to get another free Warriors shirt that you can wear 4 times a week. I'm not at 4 times a week with this one. But again, it's a message that I believe in. This guy right here.
First name Stephen, last name Curry.
He's special. He's probably the most special athlete we're ever going to get to cover here in the Bay Area. Like, he's good at every single element of global stardom. How many people can you honestly say that about? He's crushed every conceivable element of his career. That's pretty damn good.
Holy moly.
In the spot. Okay, holy moly is the blind spot in the career. But outside of holy moly, which I'm guessing got him like a really nice cush deal with Ping, and he's just getting all the putters that he wants. So
I think
worked
you could
out
get
for him.
those anyway without causing glaucoma in innocent viewers across the country.
Anyway, I feel good about endorsing Steph Curry, Warriors World, our friend Kyle Madsen, Candlestick Chronicles podcast. I think they even got an IPA. You got to like a show that has an official beverage attached to it. Maybe that's something you and I can do one day, Ray. Just have a big glass of scotch to endorse this show.
It would take that.
Don't
do this sober.
Yeah, don't. Amin El Hassan will be joining us at 3:45. Peter King coming up at 5 o'clock. Amin, obviously, with Sirius XM. He's with Meadowlark Media. He used to work for the Suns. He knows the NBA like the back of his hand. He and I got to tell you, Amin El Hassan and I were sitting next to each other watching the Cleveland Cavaliers come back from down 3-1. We sat right next to each other in Game 7. That's how he and I got to kind of know each other. And it was an interesting viewing. That I don't want to bring this up with the Warriors tipping their season off tonight, but that is how we kind of got to know each other. He's going to stop on by to talk about all the, I guess we'll call it malarkey, that the Warriors had to deal with walking into this. And I know that he and Dan Lebitard were actually talking about this on the Dan Lebitard show, about how the Warriors, how they handled Draymond Green and the contract that, he hasn't been extended with yet.
Draymond Green wants his money because he's a champion and he's willful and he's responsible for a lot of the value in that city, as they can be light years ahead of everybody, taking all that tech money and running the sport. Do you pay Draymond Green as he says, I want my money? Where's my money? Where's my money? Why are you giving it to Wiggins? Why are you giving it to Poole? I'll punch Poole in the face over maybe money, maybe not money, and let's put that in the center of this last season when these guys get paid. Do what with that now?
You do what the Warriors are doing, which is we're not comfortable committing at this time that much money to you at this age. Like, at some point, he's not going to be that anymore, and they don't want to be stuck paying him as while they're paying Curry, while they're paying Klay Thompson, while now they're going to be paying Poole and Wiggins. That's a lot of money. It's great when you're winning a championship. It's not so great when you're like, he's all right, but he's not that anymore.
At some point, Ray, at some point, Joe Lacob has to rein in a level of spending before it costs him $500 million to just field the roster. I won't even begrudge him that. And I think that he has chased excellence harder, more committed than really any other Bay Area owner that I've ever had the pleasure of covering on my watch since I've been out here for the past 17, 18 years. There's nobody who wants to win as much as Joe Lacob does. But I do think it's officially time for him to start asking questions when it comes to Draymond specifically, who, remember, before any punch, before any of this season reared its head, last season, you watched him play the fewest amount of basketball games that he's ever played in his career. I think that honestly has had more to do to factor into the deal that hasn't been put in front of Draymond Green than anything else. And really, looking at his playing style, Ray, I think he is the ultimate example of better to say goodbye a year too early than a year too late. I think he drips in that.
I don't think he drips in that at all, but the playing style is, part and parcel of what allowed him to stay in the league as an impact player as long as it did. Some guys simply have to exhaust their bodies to maintain their impact on a team. And I think that would explain, in large part, how many games he missed last year. But I think the offseason sort of hastened a lot of decisions the Warriors had to make. I think they could have rolled the dice on Poole and then come back at the end of the year and go, I don't care what they're going to offer you. You can be here and win rings. And that would be the pitch. We'll pay more than anybody else will pay you.
Well, all you'd have to do is match. I mean, just like the DeAndre Ayton thing with the Suns.
But given what the Warriors are and what they do is, we'll pay you $1 more, and you'll get parades. It's up to you. You want to be the Orlando Magic? Knock yourself out.
Right. You want to be on the biggest brand in American sports globally. I mean, it's the Yankees, it's the Cowboys, and it's probably the Warriors.
I think it's the Phillies now.
Hey. Never count out those fighting Phils.
I love the fact that the 5th and 6th best teams in the National League are playing to get into the World Series.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Chaos is broken out in Major League Baseball's postseason. Everyone who won 100 games is now golfing.
Yeah. But no, I think the Warriors, they've been sort of doing this weird dance for the better part of 2 years now, waiting for some of those young guys to emerge. And so far, the only one who has emerged is Poole. And even at that, he's still not a great defender, which means that will cause Steve Kerr to pull clumps of hair out from time to time. But I think the fact that, Draymond, he didn't force anybody's hand, but he basically made the Warriors make a choice that they might have been leaning toward anyway.
He made it easier.
He made it infinitely easier because they didn't have to come in at 123. Let alone 140. I mean, the 140 is kind of a nonsense number anyway. But even at 123, it's $30 million. Nobody would have thought that was going to be an easy nut for the Warriors to make. And then all of a sudden they go, "Oh yeah, we'll do that for sure." I think Draymond Green's right hand accelerated all their decision making, and I think as a result, they have a lot more clarity now than they had 2 weeks ago. And I think they're kind of relieved by it.
Well, I mean, I think that they made their intentions clear. They have shown not just Draymond Green, but have shown the entire team the direction this is all heading in. And now Draymond's got an option. And that option is, are you ready to, at this stage of your career, play some of the best basketball of your career, and you get out of that Defensive Player of the Year conversation and end up standing number one on the podium? An angry Draymond could be a very, very valuable Draymond Green. Draymond in his own mental walk year, there's part of me that very much wishes none of this had ever happened, but trying to look for the silver lining in the fact that it all did happen. What if now Draymond Green is truly back to being, let me show you how much I can play, let me show you how hard I can play, let me show you a year that I am going to get dialed up to play the Orlando Magic and the Charlotte Hornets and the Oklahoma City Thunder, the teams that I just basically said were hard to even focus playing against after we've been through everything that we've been through. And I will give Draymond all the credit in the world for being honest. It's a lot easier for any athlete to say, yeah, every single time they roll the ball out there, I'm going to give it my best. Because that is the right answer and the one that everyone wants to hear. But the honest answer is, no, of course you can't come out with your hair on fire 82 nights a year. It just doesn't happen. So he's honest when he says that. But I don't know if being honest, sometimes you want to keep your own counsel. You don't have to tell everybody what you're thinking all the time. But Draymond has also chosen that as part of his career path too. # new media. And by the way, I'm looking right now at Draymond Green having dinner with his entire family at, I don't know what that restaurant is, but it's
part of the TNT. Draymond package.
It is. Draymond Green has a little run-up of the preseason that is a small package that they're playing at the beginning of both games tonight on TNT. By the way, a really good night to be a member of the TNT Inside the NBA crew. All of them. Shaq, Kenny, Chuck, Ernie, all of them today got new 10-year extensions. 10-year extensions, which in broadcasting years is a 74-year extension.
Yeah, well, I mean, because this is broadcasting and not sports, the instructive contract here is probably the Drew Brees one at NBC, where he flamed out in a year. And I think TNT said, we have the best pre- and post-game show in North American sports. These guys have been doing it for a long time. Tony Romo getting $20 million a year. Why are we not taking care of this show, which is basically our tentpole? So of course you give them 10 years. And if in fact some of the rumors about Barkley's numbers are true, he's going to get $20 million a year. And he's underpaid at that because it remains the thing that separates TNT's sports coverage from everybody else's. Because you don't watch the 2.5-hour game. You watch the 4-hour package that they're putting together for you.
Well, and remember, there's nothing that has anyone watching cable television like TNT or USA Network or any of those at 1 o'clock in the morning. These guys are still live at 1 a.m. East Coast time. It's nice and early for us, but back on the East Coast, these guys are pulling basically the graveyard shift of broadcasting, and they get huge numbers on the graveyard shift. And there is more likely a chance that discussions that they have on the Inside the NBA set will be viral moments than even dunks from the basketball games that they were recapping. Their conversations are shared virally, and you can't find marketing like that. You can't invent marketing like that.
Well, you can't invent
Everyone's
numbers.
trying to.
Yeah, you can't invent numbers. I mean, how many iterations of a pregame and postgame show have ESPN tried to put together over the years? They've churned through dozens of people, and they can't find the thing.
There's only one thing that has ever totally worked for them, pre or post, and it's College Game Day.
Yeah, and that's the first and only one of those. And that's the thing. If you're original and you hit, you've written your ticket. Barkley and Kenny Smith and Ernie Johnson were the originals on that show, and they hit right away because they all understood what their roles were. Smith was the straight guy, Barkley was the comedian, and Ernie Johnson was the narrator.
Right, he sets them up.
Yeah, and it's no more, and people were doing that in sitcoms in the 50s. It's still as good as it ever was, and it's entirely dependent on talent. And those guys have it, and that's why they're going to keep doing this until they're basically putting their teeth in a jar on the set.
I guess that's one way to look at it. I love how the ultimate compliment you can give someone is you get to stay here until formaldehyde.
Yeah. Until your room temperature.
Warriors basketball. It's amazing what it was when I got here, and it's amazing what it is today. It truly is. And, Ray, you've been in the Bay Area longer than I have, and I don't know if you've seen any team evolve quite like this. I'm guessing that, the San Francisco Giants for a minute there would have qualified to the greatest evolution we have ever seen from a Bay Area team. They went from a good baseball team down at Candlestick to, hey, they won 3 championships in a row in America's debatably most beautiful, perfect baseball park. I mean, who would have ever thought that the Giants would have both of those feathers in their cap? 3 titles and as great of a stadium as we have seen constructed in modern sports architecture. So that was a huge evolution. But now to look at what the Warriors, who are literally like the kid wearing the dunce cap in the back of the class throwing spitballs at everybody, to being the valedictorian who's going to Harvard. Again, every year they get into Harvard. How do they do that? It's amazing what they have become. The Warriors are now the 15th team among the 4 major professional sports leagues in North America and the first Bay Area franchise ever to win at least 4 championships in 8 years. It's never going to get better than this. How long they can keep this going is amazing. Is absolutely amazing. And somebody from the 925 says it wasn't 3 in a row. Knock that off. Did I say the Giants won 3 in a row? Pardon me. Obviously, they didn't do that.
No, but the comp is not the Giants. The comp is for the 49ers of the 80s, because the 49ers of the 70s were every bit as bad as the Warriors.
Again, but my timeline is my arrival here. What I've covered. I wasn't here for the 80s or the 70s.
Well, but you were alive.
Sure.
You were aware of the fact that, all of a sudden that team won 4 Super Bowls in 8 years.
Yes, I did. I was aware of that.
And they were awful before then. Definitively awful. That's the comp.
Right. But unfortunately for them, they did the opposite of what the Giants did and the opposite of what the Golden State Warriors have done. They left San Francisco for what is now debatably the worst modern sports architecture slice of stadium we have seen. If you're really talking about the biggest mistakes in the history of modern sports architecture, I think there are only 2 candidates: Levi's Stadium and wherever the hell the White Sox are calling their stadium this year.
Guaranteed rate.
Guaranteed rate field. Just rolls off the tongue.
You saw that Tennessee is getting $2 billion to build a new stadium there for the Titans.
And I'm sure they are going to build something that is spectacular.
Yeah, except that they've already announced that they want a 60,000 seat capacity, which is 10,000 less than the minimum standard for the Super Bowl. So what are you building it for?
But it could be 60,000 seat permanent. 60,000 permanent seats with 10,000 additional seats that can be added. That's what they did at Levi's.
But if they're doming it, I don't know how you make another 10,000 seats appear out of nowhere.
Well, they domed Jerry's World, and that's the same thing that it does.
Yeah, but they started at 80,000, which was way above the limit, and now it seats 93.
Right.
This is starting 10,000 seats below the limit. So what you're saying is we need a stadium to replace the one that's 20 years old, and we can't get a Super Bowl with it?
I bet you they finagle a way to get the seats in there to get their Super Bowl. But what Tennessee also wants is a huge place for concerts and a place to host the Final Four.
You get the Final Four once every 8 years, if you're lucky. And even at that, they'll never get a college football championship. It's not, it sounds like it's just a real estate deal. It doesn't sound like a thing that's going to get them in the rotation for the biggest events.
What's weird is they're all real estate deals.
Yeah, but
except for Levi Stadium. Levi Stadium, they got no real estate around that place. They just get, here's your stadium that nobody particularly likes in a place that nobody particularly wanted it.
Yeah, but it does have the advantage of having lousy in and out access.
It sure does. Enjoy it as much as you possibly can. So we told you why. Amin El-Hassan is going to be joining us talking about the upcoming NBA season. He and Dan Le Batard were debating the merits of Draymond Green, paying him, going backwards, forwards. This is how that debate concluded, shall we say, or at least, I don't know if it concluded, but here's the second half of Dan Le Batard making the case that Draymond should be angry that he has not gotten paid.
This is a decorated champion that I believe in the modern time has been underappreciated.
Yes.
Just changed the entire sport with a bunch of freaks that none of us have ever seen. Like just these guys who play basketball a different way than anybody else. They have been a champion that has earned and welcomed the magnet of Kevin Durant. Yes, you will win with us to try and chase LeBron and no one else. Get out of here. We don't need you. We can win without you too. And at the center of that is a dude who's furious all the time and now has been disrespected.
I don't think
now maybe he looks at it the way you do as a business. Maybe you could say all of this very matter-of-factly, right. You could say very matter-of-factly, hey, Draymond, it's not, in sports, it's very cold. It's not about what were you worth back then. It's what are you worth now, and you're absolutely right. But if I'm Draymond, just built like he is, from his entire past, you know how badly that makes me want to tell you to go yourself? Like, just because Because I've climbed to the top of this thing. I'm the furnace that lures Durant. All these shooters exist around me because I do all the garbage, all the.
One thing that is very obvious is that Dan wants to only discuss the merits, not the demerits. And I don't think that Bob Myers and Steve Kerr are looking at Draymond only through the prism of merits anymore. And that has an awful lot to do with the contract that he might not be receiving going forward. I do believe he's in his last Golden State Warriors contract. Maybe the success that they have over the next year or two will prove that wrong. I have been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong again. But this guy is one of the franchise's greatest assets, for sure. He has also been among their premier saboteurs, for sure. So it really is a tough balancing act. And I think the Warriors have figured it out, that for the first time, how this ends is maybe more their focus on how it continues. Draymond's actions are responsible for that. And I also think the construction of this team as it's evolving plays a big role in that as well. And yes, I'm looking at you, Andrew Wiggins, Jonathan Kuminga, and James Wiseman.
Well, I mean, they were going to be part of this going forward anyway, and Wiggins cemented that in the first half of last year. Because when you could see, this is what he can do when he's not hard at work trying to justify his draft class of 8 years earlier. And then when he did what he did in the postseason, that's when it became clear that he's part of the core. There's no sort of asterisk next to his name anymore. The young guys will either pan out or they won't. But other than Poole, there's still question marks. The decision on Green is probably now just going to be, what? You can stay if you want. And it's no more complicated than that. They don't have to sit there and agonize about it.
The players get the rings. Fans, you get the banner that is going up in the stadium tonight. And to talk all about that in the coming NBA season, who might be challengers, true challengers to the Golden State Warriors throne, we got Amin Elhassan stopping on by next here on 95.7 The Game. We're brought to you by BMW Fairfield and by Fremont Bank. Full-service banking, no compromises.
Your most valuable asset is your time. So why should buying a car eat up your whole day? At BMW of Fairfield, we value your time as much as you do. So once you've decided on your next car and how you want to buy it, we'll have you behind the wheel of your ultimate driving machine and on your way home within 1 hour. There is a better way. Experience it for yourself at BMW of Fairfield. One price, one person, 1 hour.
Here at Total Wine & More, you'll love what you find this Halloween.
Me thirsty.
Oh, hey, Frankenstein. Did you enjoy that Cabernet?
Oh, good. Want margarita?
Well, all the villagers are raving about this tequila.
Ooh.
And we have it at the lowest price.
Economical.
Find what you love what you find with the totally lowest prices for Halloween. Only at Total Wine & More. Drink responsibly, be 21.
Everything, our farm, our stand, our pop-up shop, it really all started when we discovered the benefits of local, raw honey for our family.
And then we decided to turn it into a business.
We were looking for something to help us get up and running.
So we got the Chase Business Complete Banking Account.
It's more than a bank account. It comes with Quick Accept, which lets us take card payments anytime, anywhere in the U.S. using the Chase mobile app. Plus, we get same-day deposits at no extra cost. For us, it's more than honey. It's about sharing a little sweetness with the world.
Get the Chase Business Complete Banking Account with the essentials you need to help get your business going. Learn more at chase.com/business-complete-banking. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Quick Accept is not available in U.S. territories. Enrollment required. Usage subject to approval. Same-day deposits available for payments before 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday to Friday. Fees and rates apply for checking and processing. Limitations and restrictions apply. Participants compensated. Merchant services provided by Payment Tech LLC and WePay Inc. Subsidiaries of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
Golfer,
golfers. Tee it up this fall at the Golf Mart for big savings. Save up to $150 off on Ping G425 woods. Upgrade your gear with discounted Wilson standard cart golf bags and stock up on TaylorMade Distance Plus golf balls. Now 2 dozen for $35. Don't miss these items and more happening now at the Golf Mart and get a free custom fitting today. The Golf Mart, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee. Or shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Hey, Nissan, how do you get to the top?
Calculating. Proceed to 1959. Take a hard left in East Africa at the 71 Safari Rally. Veer right for 19 off-road championships in the Baja Desert. Proceed towards Moab. Take the trail to Hell's Revenge. Include steep incline. Continue for the next 1,000,000 miles.
Where to first again?
60 years, millions of miles, and the capability to take you anywhere. This is the new Nissan.
Wendy's new French toast sticks are so delicious, some are saying that they're better than their mom's breakfast.
Excuse me. Did you just say Wendy's new French toast sticks are better than my breakfast?
Mom, is that you?
Answer the question.
I said some people are saying that because they're so crispy on the outside and fluffy on the inside and perfect in every way.
Uh-huh. And what do you think?
I think it's time to tell people to choose wisely. Choose Wendy's new sweet and crispy home-style French toast sticks.
That's still not an answer.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours. The new Google Pixel 7 Pro is super, especially when it's on Verizon, the network America relies on. It's supercharged, super powered, and a super...
deal.
You know it. Now, switch to Verizon and get the Google Pixel 7 Pro on us with select trade-ins and select 5G unlimited plans.
That really is super.
Yep. There's never been a better time to switch to Verizon. $899.99 device payment purchase with new smartphone line on select 5G unlimited plans required. $200 Verizon e-gift card with ported. Less $700 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in conditions and additional terms apply.
Football season is here. The new Odyssey app lets you stay connected to your NFL team, your station, your shows. Follow your favorite stations and come back again and again. Get real-time updates on everything you care about. Miss your show? Jump back to their awesome rewind feature. The Odyssey app is NFL football. Live and on demand. Wherever you are, whenever you want. And did we mention it's all free? Download the Odyssey app today.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come from the 2,000-year-old tradition of wok cooking. P.F. Chang's wanted to explore new possibilities for their website. They turned to AmericanEagle.com. AmericanEagle.com re-architected P.F. Chang's website, integrating multiple third-party systems to create a unified digital experience. The results? Improved page speed and performance, personalized content based on users' location, intuitive online ordering, an increase in organic search visibility, and a 40% increase in new users. For scratch-made Asian cuisine, visit your local P.F. Chang's or go to pfchangs.com for website design, development, digital marketing, and hosting that produce efficiency, revenue, and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com. P.F. Chang's and AmericanEagle.com. Another example of the best businesses in the world, turning to the best in the business for websites. Go to AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW1. That's 877-WEB-NOW1.
It's JP with the Golden State Warriors. Now back to Damon and Ratto.
That's the man right there, Jordan Poole, coming off the bench for the Golden State Warriors tonight. Mind your banners, ladies and gentlemen. You get the banner, the team gets the rings. We're tipping off an NBA season over at Chase Center tonight. The entire TNT crew is out in Thrive City. You can even see Muni right behind some of the camera shots. There are tons of fans out there already, but they're all here in the Bay Area, including Commissioner Adam Silver. And apparently, without any of my express written consent, they're using sound bites from this show. Am I getting a kickback on any of this? Craig, where's my kickback? Where's the kickback? I mean, they're getting $10, $20 million a year, 10-year deals for everyone. How about just busting off like a $50 Starbucks gift card for your boy? Which will leave me with about 5 coffees.
Yeah.
Starbucks is getting expensive, right?
I'll have to take your word for it.
But it's just, that's right. You don't drink, you don't eat. I
No, I eat and I drink. I just don't go to Starbucks.
Okay. Well, neither do I really. But it was...
so you wanted a gift card to a place you'd never go?
Well, that way I could take care of the show. I mean, it's not for me.
Of course not.
It's not for me, Ray. I'm spread. I gotta... Craig needs a coffee. Grandy needs a coffee. Lucas, Bevmo.
Yeah, guess who's making runs to the coffee place to get those coffees?
Well, that's why I got to have the $50 gift card, because I don't trust them with the cash, but they can roll with the card and just give it back to me, and everything's on the up and up. Anyway, it's nice.
You have faith in them that, frankly, is not justified.
It's nice to have my name, image, and likeness totally scooped by TNT. Thank you very much. Guess Guru made some sound bites. Good for Guru. Steiny's making sound bites. Oh, so they're going with the bitter angle, aren't they? Nice. Okay. 95.7 The Game. Pissing the world off tonight on TNT.
Man, I'm glad I'm not involved.
You should be involved.
Oh, please.
You love to upset everyone. So,
organically.
We have Amin El Hassan joining us at the top of the hour. Not here. He needed to push back about 10, 15 minutes. No problemo. When he was at ESPN, his colleague used to be Brian Windhorst, who stopped on by the Morning Roast to talk a little bit about the deals that the Warriors struck with Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, and how they did that without obviously considering what Draymond's future would hold in this round of contract talks. But Brian said that these balls were probably rolling in this direction before anyone's overhand right got landed in practice.
I don't know what was in Draymond's heart when he punched him, but we do know that regardless of that, Draymond can read the writing on the wall. And even before these extensions got signed, it was pretty clear that the Warriors were going to, probably sign the two younger guys as opposed to him, and that probably caused some angst with him. And so I don't know. He rattled the cage a little bit over the summer about his contract. I almost think that this will make it pretty hard for him to make it an issue during the year, although I guess Draymond will be Draymond. So maybe that cleared that out of the way, and he'll have to just be on his best behavior for a while, and that in the long run, this actually will be, not the worst thing in the world.
So, Ray, would you subscribe to any of that being the reality that this actually follows? That Draymond is going to be so motivated to get back into the good graces of the Warriors, and we are going to get a tremendous season out of him now that otherwise might not have been there without this, self-created drama.
You were going to get that season anyway. You were going to get the best season he could put together, either for this team or for his next team, because this is essentially his walk year. So I don't think that part, merits a lot of run. I also think that the Warriors had not already sort of set their minds to what they did last week. They certainly considered that as an option. And because they're professionals who do this every day for a living, they had plans for every alternative. They hadn't figured that this alternative would crop up, but they knew that at some point decisions would have to be made. What happened with the punch was that they said, well, we now have everything we need to know about the way we're going to need to go, regardless of whether Green stays or not. I think they had discussed plans in all eventualities and chose one like 6 months earlier than they felt they would have had to. But I think they kicked the tires, to quote a great man.
Brian Windhorst went on further on the Morning Roast talking about Jordan Poole's contract, what those numbers look like, and then the real surprise turns out to be Andrew Wiggins. But we'll just start with Jordan Poole.
I thought the contracts were really smart. I mean, first off, if Jordan Poole has another year like he did last year, and why would you not expect that, he would be a candidate to get a max contract offer sheet next summer. There's 6 to 7 teams that have max offers, have max space. I mean, there could be more, depending on moves during the season. Signing him to that contract, I know it came out as 140, but it's really 123. And especially with that new with the new structure of what we're expecting to happen with the salary cap, that was a good contract.
And the truth is, you never doubt NBA owners for spending recklessly. I'm not talking about Joe Lacob's level of spending. I'm talking about the owner who will spend twice as much as the player is worth just to turn around and say, we have something new. That totally feels like, a scenario that Jordan Poole would have qualified for. Some less than good at this NBA owner would have put $140 million on the table. And then the Warriors would have had to match that. So now they get to basically create their own level of financial pain without having to meet anyone else's you're bad at giving out contracts. I mean, this is what the Phoenix Suns did. I think the Phoenix Suns were looking at DeAndre Ayton. Then the Pacers were like, hey, we're really looking at DeAndre Ayton. And they're like, well, we're going to probably spend more than we want to now to keep him around, but we've decided we're going to do that.
Yeah, but the difference is that the Suns did it in such a way that they made Ayton hate being there. The Warriors did not do that with Poole. In fact, I don't know that anybody else was going to lay out $30 million for him unless there became a full-on bidding war. And I didn't know that Jordan Poole had done enough to create a bidding war in the NBA yet. But the Warriors, when they decided, we have to commit to him now, they just said, well, then we're going to have to give him a number that does not involve us in a bidding war. And they did overpay, I think, because I don't know that Jordan Poole was going to get a $30 million a year deal.
I think they
on the
did.
open market.
That's the thing. I think they felt that coming, especially with, a new CBA and a cap coming down the road in just a couple of seasons. I mean, the NBA's revenue is going up like a hockey stick.
Oh no, they can afford whatever they want to afford. But general managers win brownie points from their bosses when they can shave a few million off here and a few million off there. I think Bob Myers just said, for us to tie him down right now, we have to give him the contract we don't think anybody else is going to give him ahead of time.
Bob Myers was talking about the big tax bill coming their way on Willard and Dibbs yesterday at Chase Center.
It's never been more fluid as far as year to year in the NBA, in my opinion. You might think differently. With the shorter deals, with the fact that players, the impatience level, the money, all these factors, even impatience of owner and management, moving guys in and out when you don't win. So we made a decision to put whatever the best team we could on the floor this year and then see what happens. It doesn't that doesn't make for a great soundbite as far as what are we going to do next year. But realistically, I don't know what we're going to do next year yet. We have ideas if how things go. If somebody would have told me last year we're going to pay Poole and Wiggins this, I would have said, no, we're not doing that. So it's something we look at, we talk about internally, but it's also the idea, Dibbs, that it changes, right? It'll depend on what this year is.
Where this year goes, well, we'll know 82 games from tonight. Game 1 is tonight against the Lakers. We're going to have Amin Elhassan real soon to talk about the coming NBA season. But again, I want to go back to Brian Windhorst, who was talking, about Jordan Poole and Draymond Green and what those decisions were. And then he got around to Andrew Wiggins, who just gave the Golden State Warriors maybe the best deal that they're going to enter in this dynastic run other than Steph Curry's original $44 million extension when he was getting MVPs at $11 million a year. But what Andrew Wiggins just agreed to is really something else.
Andrew Wiggins took a pay cut. I mean, it was one of the more remarkable contracts I've seen in the last decade, because very rarely do you see a player in his prime, I think he's 27, coming off a season like he did, take a pay cut.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a handful of examples where players took pay cuts in the middle of their career. Probably the most well-known one in the NBA was when Kevin Garnett took one to help the Timberwolves back in like 2005. He was coming off an MVP season and took a $10 million pay cut. But this is incredible that Wiggins would sign that contract. And it's him basically saying he wants to be a Warrior, and that is a great thing for them. but it was a very smart contract for the Warriors to sign. I don't think those contracts are considered risks at all.
Again, there was Brian Windhorst today on the Morning Roast, and right here in the middle of the afternoon, I want to welcome everybody into your 4 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free.
When it comes to talking hoops, Amin Elhassan is one of my favorite guys in the business to be talking hoops with. He's nice enough to join us here on Damon and Ratto. He's with Meadowlark Media. You can check him out on Sirius XM NBA Radio. Amin, thank you for joining us, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you guys, too. It's the long summer of does Durant hate his team, and will Russell Westbrook get traded, and all that stuff is behind us, and now we actually get real basketball.
You know, it's funny. You know, it is a long summer for pretty much everyone in the league but 2 teams that reach the NBA Finals, in which case the offseason goes by in the blink of an eye. And normally it's got that, man, I can't believe how soon it's starting feeling to it. But this year, with everything that the Warriors just went through with Draymond and Jordan and in practice a couple of weeks ago, this season all of a sudden went from it's coming too soon to couldn't come fast enough. And I think the Warriors are just dying to return this to a basketball conversation.
Yeah, anything that's not talking about contracts or people punching people or any of that stuff, right? Let's get back to playing basketball and reminding everyone why the Warriors are lovable, right? Because that's kind of the weird thing about the last couple of weeks is more than anything, that lovable kind of Warriors tag has been stripped. And now we have conversations about a hostile work environments and the cost of winning and you know, is it possible? You know, it kind of highlights on some level the frustrations of being excellent for so long. At some point, you know, these relationships start to fray.
As somebody who did his time in a front office and dealt with front office people from other teams for as long as you did, and probably still do to a certain extent, how do you think the Warriors handled getting out of the predicament that Green put them in?
Yeah, Ray, that's a good question but it's a tough question to answer because I don't know how everyone feels behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is, on the one hand, what Draymond did was inexcusable, and you know, you don't hit people that hard. Like that's someone, you know. First of all, before I saw the video, it was described to me as a cartoonishly aggressive punch. And when seeing the video, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. And you know, because I can't stress this enough, and I've kind of been on a little bit of an island in saying this. Fights happen. Fist fights happen in NBA practices all the time. When you see guys in games hold me back and shoving each other, that's not because they don't know how to fight. It's because the league has successfully legislated fighting out of our game through fines and suspensions. So guys think twice about doing that. But that doesn't mean they don't know how to fight or that fights don't occur. And so the news that Draymond punched Jordan Poole did not shock me. Because I'm like, yeah, it's an NBA practice. It happens. Guys get testy and then somebody hauls off and punches somebody else. But seeing it, that's not a regular, you're pissing me off, let's fight. That's I'm dealing with some other stuff. That's the kind of, like my buddy said, that's the kind of punch you do when you're fighting someone you don't know. When you're literally fighting for your life, not I'm going to whoop your ass kind of thing of someone I do know. So, given that fighting is prevalent, but that seemed to be cross a line, the biggest thing is how does Jordan Poole absorb all this? Does he take it as, yeah, it's a practice fight, no big whoop? Is he like, I don't trust this guy anymore? I don't know that level of his feeling. So for them to come to that conclusion, it tells me, at least on a superficial level, that everyone involved in that is okay with it. They've accepted it as this is just an NBA fight. He did something wrong. He's going to get punished for it, but we don't need to further complicate issues by taking a strong stand and suspending him. Because at the end of the day, who are we trying to appease in that moment? Some outside forces, some yahoos on a radio show or on a TV show or whatever. That doesn't make sense. So that's a long way of saying they are all cool with it, and I'm cool with it too.
Amin El-Hassan here on 95.7 The Game. And again, that's kind of the way that we were talking about this in its conclusion. If the team wants to move on and is good with moving on, and Jordan Poole is endorsing all of that, who are we to say they're getting it wrong? Like, they've officially earned an awful lot of house credit. Steve Kerr said that this was the biggest crisis of his coaching career. And at all times during Steve Kerr's career, when something's going wrong, he's got one tent post to truly lean on, and that's Steph Curry. How much do you think that how much do you think Steph is the reason why topics like this don't swallow this franchise alive? Because I truly think he is about as perfect and unique a leader as the NBA's had in a really long time. Like, he's Duncan level perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what Steve compares him to a lot. That temperament, that even-keeled temperament that allows you to steady yourself, because the locker room follows the leader. When they see the leader's unfazed and unflappable, they're able to absorb and move past things that otherwise probably people would not. Now, having said that, from what I understand, Steph was moved by this occurrence. It wasn't a kind of, well, that's just practice. He didn't take it like that.
No.
Which, again, further doubles down on, if they're okay with it, then I've got to be okay with it too, because if Steph Curry, who was kind of moved by this, and we know his influence and his voice in that organization, and they went with this punishment, then that means he co-signed on that as well, feeling like the point has been made, or that Draymond has atoned enough, or whatever it is. But, it's when Steve Kerr says this is the biggest crisis, that kind of flips you guys on the other end. Like, wait, this is the biggest crisis? I would have thought, dealing with Durant last season, that felt like the biggest crisis that they went through, given how miserable everyone seemed to be during that time. And obviously the prospect of losing an all-time great. The fact that this registers on his radar that loudly is a little confusing to me, given that the punishment is going to withhold some of your check and you're going to say you're sorry. So it's kind of mixed messages, I guess.
Given your knowledge of how teams negotiate with players who are going to be in Jordan Poole's situation, did the Warriors overpay him by trying to lock him up now? Would he have been a $30 million player if none of this had happened?
I believe so. I don't think this contract in any way reflects Jordan's victimhood. This is about basketball. If you look at the comps around the league, Tyler Hero and R.J. Barrett, those guys are roughly around the same caliber player. One guy might have this guy 1, 2, 3. Another person might have them ranked differently, but they're pretty close as caliber players at this point. The going rate was $130 million. Now, the interesting thing about Jordan's contract is the initial reports we heard was $140 million. Wow, he got more than those other guys. But when you do the digging into the incentive structures in there, it's almost impossible that he's going to get anywhere near 140. No, I'm sorry. It's not almost impossible. It's impossible. Because $3 million per year, that's $12 million total of his incentives are for winning MVP, winning Defensive Player of the Year, and being All-NBA and All-NBA and All-Defensive Team. That's 4 different incentives that total up to $3 million per year. So in order for him to make those $12 million total, he literally needs to be MVP of the league 4 years in a row, Defensive Player of the Year 4 years in a row, and All-NBA 4 years in a row, and All-Defensive Team 4 years. That's not going to happen. And quite likely, none of those things are going to happen. The most likely is he'll be an All-NBA player. That's a very optimistic appraisal of Jordan Poole, saying he'll be an All-NBA player. but he's not an MVP and he's not a defensive player. So why are we giving him credit in his contract for these things that he'll never meet? The other incentives are way more achievable. There's $250K for playing in 65 games and the team wins at least 52 games. $250K for playing in 65 games and the team makes it to the playoffs. $250K for playing in 65 games and making it to the second round, et cetera, et cetera. So there are ones that are a lot more achievable, but the bulk of that, $17 million delta between 123 his base and 140 his incentives are made up just la-la land fiction, like the wildest dreams and fantasies. So when you look at it in that lens, you begin to say, oh, yeah, his contract is in line, if not a little cheaper than his peers.
Hey, all he's got to do is, drop 35 a night off the bench. MVP could be his. You never know. Amin El Hassan with us here on 95.7 The Game. And we have very little time left. So I'd just like a prediction on Draymond's year, if you will. And out of the Western Conference, who do you think is the biggest challenger to the Warriors' throne that's not the Los Angeles Clippers?
Draymond Jr. is going to be interesting because, again, as he moved past this incident, he referenced in his press conference, his original press conference, that he's going through some stuff in his personal life, and that in part fueled the uncontrollable rage he felt on that day. Is that resolved? Is he still dealing with that? How will that manifest itself in the rest of his for the rest of the season? Those are really important questions, but I would point out that Draymond, more than most guys, is able to focus and play basketball at a very high level despite being angry or upset or anything like that. Now, he does have high-profile instances when that backfires on him. See 2 weeks ago, so it remains to be seen if it will manifest itself again during the season. The biggest challenger, not named the Clippers, I guess you'd have to say the Denver Nuggets. Jokic is a reigning two-time MVP, and I've been kind of classifying this season as the Avengers Endgame scene where the portals open and all the people who were lost to the Thanos snap are walking through those portals. So John Wall and Kawhi Leonard and Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray and Ben Simmons.
It's like the Patino game. It's the Patino game.
They're all walking through that door now. So that changes basically the landscape of the league, and particularly in the Western Conference where there's more than a couple of those guys walking through those doors. So, man, I think I'm going to go with Denver outside of the Clippers, obviously. But, man, I don't know how good New Orleans is going to be. And that sounds crazy, right? I don't know how good Dallas can be. And so on and so forth. The Western Conference is, surprise, surprise, a war zone.
Amin, cheers to you, man. Thank you so much for joining us here as we're tipping off an NBA season. Meant a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Really appreciate the time of Amin El Hassan. These guys over at Meadowlark are obviously having a good time. Thanks so much to him for stopping on by. Ray, when we come on back, I think we will get into challengers to the Warriors' throne, what they might look like, where they might come from. The Warriors' title defense begins tonight against the Lakers at 7 o'clock at Chase Center. Stay locked into 95.7 The Game. Warriors Live with our man John Dickinson, live from Chase Center. He gets going at 6 o'clock, brought to you by Xfinity as soon as Ray and I are done. In 45 minutes from now, Peter King joins us on 95.7 The Game.
Are you seeing the telomeres here? Come here, look at the scope.
Dr. Ocasio's lab startup just discovered a gene therapy breakthrough.
The cells have already doubled.
He needs a fleet of research assistants before this breakthrough breaks them.
We need lab techs, research assistants.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge. But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99. You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
There's a reason Comcast Business powers more businesses than any other provider. Actually, there's a few. Comcast Business offers the fastest, reliable network, the peace of mind that comes with Security Edge, helping to protect all your connected devices, and the most reliable 5G mobile network. Want me to keep going? I can. Whether your small business is starting or growing, you need Comcast Business. Technology solutions that put you ahead and give you serious savings. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with fast speeds and advanced security. Together for just $69.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Or find out how to get up to a $650 prepaid card with a qualifying bundle. Limited time offer, restrictions apply. New 50 megabits per second internet and Security Edge customers only. Requires enrollment in EcoBill and AutoPay. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra and subject to change. Comcast Business Mobile utilizes the network with the most RootMetrics 5G data reliability wins in 1H 2022. Results may vary, not an endorsement.
This football season, adopt a new tradition that's sure to turn fans into family. The Jim Beam Highball. That's beam and soda over ice with a lemon slice. Share one at the stadium or make one at home. Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 40% alcohol by volume. Copyright 2022, James B. Beam Distilling Company, Claremont, Kentucky. Drink smart.
It's easy to think all money managers are pretty much the same, but at Fisher Investments, we're clearly different.
Different? How? You sell high commission investment products, right?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission-based investment products.
Well, you must earn commissions on trades.
Nope, never at Fisher. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in our client's best interest. It's the highest standard of care for a financial advisor.
How do you know what's in their best interest?
We get to know our clients and then tailor a portfolio based on their goals and needs.
But you probably sneak in some hidden and layered fees.
No, we have one transparent management fee structured so we do better when our clients do better.
Wow, you really do look out for your clients.
That's because our top priority is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement. It might be why most of our clients come from other money managers. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments. Clearly different money management.
Investments and securities involve the risk of loss.
Tune in to 95.7 The Game for Warriors Live. 90 minutes before tip-off of every Warriors game. Brought to you by Xfinity Sports Zone, the ultimate hub for everything sports. With live games, shows, news, and highlights all in one place. Only with Xfinity X1.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Without the ones like you who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you 24/7 with supplies and solutions for every industry and access to product specialists ready to help. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
San Mateo, partly cloudy tonight with a low of 58.
Weather brought to you by Pfizer and BioNTech. This fall, there are now updated COVID-19 booster shots designed for recent Omicron variants. Learn more and schedule your updated booster at vaccines.gov.
The annual Harmony Walk to End Hunger and Homelessness in Richmond is October 22nd. Register at gripcares.org. Hear local music, take your kids to the bounce house, and make a difference together. Register now at gripcares.org.
Now back to Damon and Ratto, brought to you by BMW Fairfield on 95.7 The Game.
Well, opening ceremonies in Boston are now underway. Looks like they got a really nice Bill Russell logo, and I don't know if that's the new center court logo that is replacing the leprechaun on the parquet, but obviously Bill Russell's going to be honored in every NBA arena, none more than in Boston's. So congratulations as all that is happening. And before they sent the broadcast from the TNT pregame show, which is happening live outside of Chase Center, they had, I don't know even who she was, but some female pop star gets up there at Thrive City rocking a Lakers jersey. How did they not rotten cabbage her right off the stage? Like, how are you not over at, what is that, Gott's Burgers, saying, I need all the moldy buns in the back that you have. We're going to throw them at this woman during her performance. You're wearing a Lakers jersey, performing outside of the Warriors arena. She should not get out of there with anything less than moldy food thrown at her.
If you're hanging around that arena tonight, given the prices, you don't traffic in moldy food.
You might be right. It's an expensive get-in price for this evening.
Yes, I'm going to this very important game, and I'm bringing past sell-by date vegetables.
Yeah, I spent $4,000 to be in the first 10 rows for banner night, and I've also got a rotten tomato in each pocket in case someone wears the wrong thing trying to entertain me pregame. I'm just saying you got to be prepared. It's what a Boy Scout would do. Damon and Ratto, Ray is back from an incredible vacation in Thailand where he was riding and petting elephants by the day. It's really lovely that you took so much personal time to center yourself, Ray. It's great. I can feel your chakras aligned.
Shut up.
Seriously, did you even leave Alameda?
Yes, I did.
Oh, that's good. That's good. He's going places, folks.
I leave that place every day to come to this hellhole.
Oh, but, Tim Jordan just came in and gave you the key that will continue to let you back in here day after day after day. So someone might want
don't think I won't hold that against him.
Anyways, can we talk about some X factors, if you will? And really, because we have Peter King joining us at 5 o'clock, I want to open up lines right now, and I want to talk to fans ahead of ring night, banner night. Again, the players get the rings. It ain't your ring night. It's your banner night if you are a Warriors fan. Besides your basic, we're trying to repeat as NBA champions, give me a predictive storyline. What do you think might be your favorite storyline of this upcoming Warriors season? That's for the audience at 888-957-9570. What's the one thing you want to see happen? What is the story that you are most interested in watching develop as this year goes along? Again, repeat, not necessary. Every single Warriors fan is looking for this team to repeat, and their chances to repeat might be among the best chances they've ever had to truly repeat because of how deep this team is. And that depth is a part of the X factors that I've got, Ray, that is going to go into making the season really interesting. But before that, I'm going to talk about challengers to the throne. Who might actually threaten the Golden State Warriors? I do think Amin came up with the other 1A or B because I really think that in the Western Conference there are 3.5 teams that can truly threaten the Golden State Warriors. The first challenger to the throne, and the one that I'm most concerned about, I think the one that you're going to be, the good Warrior fan listening, the most concerned about is going to be the Los Angeles Clippers. I think this is the year that the LA Clippers have been pointing towards since Kawhi joined them. And look out for the Clippers this year. I'm going to tell you, look out for the Mavericks this year. I'm going to agree with Amin El Hassan. Look out for the healthy, for the first time in a long time, Denver Nuggets this year. And I got 3.5 challengers in the Western Conference. My half a challenger, the Suns are worth keeping an eye on until further notice. They could play themselves right back into this conversation, or I could see them play themselves out of this conversation this year and maybe have peaked a little too soon without having won the the championship in their most dominant season ever. Also, little bad blood. The Sarver thing, I don't know if that helps or hurts, if it factors in at all. So I'm going to say that there are 3.5 Western Conference teams you should be worried about. The Clippers, the Mavericks, the Denver Nuggets, and the Suns are that half of the other team.
I don't know that I get the Nuggets, and I'm willing to defer to Amin El-Hassan's superior knowledge of the league. But that's a team that couldn't get 2 of their 3 best players to play down the stretch or in their postseason series because either they couldn't get healthy or they didn't think they were healthy enough. And I think that suggests to me a team that isn't ready to sort of make the insane commitment that it takes to win a championship. The Clippers, I don't know, they're more smoke than fire to me.
Have been to date. I think this is the year that the embers catch some flame.
Maybe, but I don't think there's any evidence that wasn't there before when they haven't been able to do it.
Well,
so
I think they got a great coach, and now they're going to get back their platoon of great players. What do Paul George and Kawhi Leonard really look like in a whole season together? And if this is the year we find out to that answer, I think we're going to be more impressed than we are unimpressed.
Maybe. I'm waiting for that to happen, and I'm perfectly willing to be wrong in that wait. But you have to show me, and they haven't shown anything. They've shown that they can get close, and then they just vomit all over themselves. They haven't shown that they can keep those 2 guys healthy, and if either one of them is hurt for any extended period of time, they're done.
All bets are off, absolutely. But the 2 of them functioning together, if that happens, look out. I'm just throwing that out.
How much are you willing to invest in John Wall suddenly redeeming himself?
More than I would a lot of other guys. Because, again, he's been laying in the weeds, very much banged up body, enough time off to where he might have, in a new location, a little motivation that he didn't have elsewhere. And I will say this, that John Wall literally controlled the basketball game with a 10-10 double-double at Assembly Hall when I was going back to watch him at Kentucky. And it's the single most impressive 10-10 double-double I've ever seen in my life. John Wall with what is just a very normal, you can't have less than those 2 categories and still call it a double-double. And he controlled every single minute of the basketball. Like, I respect John Wall more than I probably should, only because his greatness washed over me in person one night.
Well, the only point I would make in rebuttal is that was a long
10, 12 years ago now. Yes, it was.
Yeah. And every player in the NBA, with only a few exceptions, has a moment like that they can point to, because that's how they got in the league.
Right.
It's how you're doing it once you're in the league. And his salad days in Washington that's several years in the rearview mirror.
It's a career built on athleticism that he doesn't have as much of anymore. And he, honest to God, Ray, he was the fastest human being I've ever seen in person on a basketball court. Only Allen Iverson, I think, could be in the conversation of coast-to-coast speed.
Oh, no, the young John Wall was an exceptional player. There's no question about that. And he got that $40 million deal because of that. But it's been a while now, and he's been injured. He's been on a series of bad teams. He's been almost untradeable at times. I think it's a lot to pin your championship hopes on him as your third 10 piece.
Memphis
intrigues me because I think and it's not about their hunger, but they've got the athleticism that I think the Clippers don't. And I think Taylor Jenkins is an excellent coach. And I think those guys, having seen what's required to try to beat a champion and failing, they have better sort of in-person knowledge of what needs to happen next than really any other team in the conference.
I'm going to give you 4 from the Eastern Conference. I think there are 4 teams from the Eastern Conference that could plausibly become NBA champions this year. And this is in order.
If you say the Knicks, I'm quitting.
Bucks, fair enough. Bucks, Nets, Sixers, Celtics. The Chicago Bulls could play themselves into an interesting year.
Interesting, but
no, they're not going to win the Eastern Conference.
Cleveland's not contending.
Bucks, Nets, Celtics, Sixers, Celtics. Cleveland is, again, very much in that Chicago camp. Their year could be a good year or 5 games bounce the way that they need them to, and they're actually the 3 seed.
No, Cleveland, if everything breaks right, could be very good.
Donovan Mitchell, new face in a new place. Look out, everybody.
Yeah. On the other hand, sometimes the new face in the old place ruins the old place more than helps the new face. So I'm kind of iffy on them. But they're a playoff team. I just don't know that they're a deep run playoff team.
Storylines you're looking forward to this upcoming NBA season for the Warriors. This is Rich in Fremont. Rich, you're on 95.7 The Game. What are you looking forward to the most?
Hey, Damon. Nice return there, Ray. We missed you.
Oh, give it time.
I think one of the things I definitely want to see is I want to see if the younger core can gel with, the teammates that are on the squad now, because there's a lot of teams in the West, and you guys left out the Minnesota Timberwolves. Because I tell you something, that lineup they got is not something to take lightly. That's a strong lineup when you put in Gobert. Okay, so, I think really at the end of the day, it's whether or not if that young core can gel and start to excel in the areas of the plays that Kerr's going to give them that allow them to stay elite. Because they're going to be going through the same thing that, the veterans went through a few seasons ago. Some of them may get injured. And we know the injury bug is what kills the season. I just want to see what the young guys are going to do. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, Rich. Thank you. This year's young guys are going to have trouble cracking the lineup. Last year's young guys, I think, are going to be playing huge roles this year. And if they do, God, it makes all the minutes that Steve Kerr is telling everyone. Like, early minutes in early games for core players won't be as readily available as you think they would be, because he's going to slow play just about everybody in this starting 5 into this season. Here is Steve Kerr yesterday with Steiny and Guru.
Our top 5 or 6 guys aren't ready to play 30-plus minutes yet. So some of that is just, Clay got a late start with his leg. We go to Japan, which eliminated a couple of practices because of the travel time. I remember we had the exact same situation when we went to China in, was it 18 or I think we went in 2018. We came back and we were not quite ready for opening night. So you got to be really careful. I think one of my biggest jobs as the coach is to pace the team. And so on the one hand, you could say, well, maybe we should have grinded them harder in camp to get them all ready for the 30-plus minutes on opening night. On the other hand, that can backfire because it's such a long year. So I'm fine with where we are. We're going to rely on our depth. We've got a lot of it. And within a couple of weeks, of the schedule, you'll have Steph, Clay, Draymond, Jordan, Wiggs, all, ready to go for 30-plus minutes, and we'll be exactly where we need to be.
And I think a guy that they're going to turn to quite a bit here then in the early going, it's going to be Moses Moody. I think Moses Moody is probably higher up on players Steve Kerr will turn to than even Jonathan Kuminga is. I think Moody's going to be a fascinating study this year. I think JaMychal Green is going to play a bigger role in the early season than anyone could have imagined. And then Dante DiVincenzo has a chance to have a start to the year that makes this team completely reevaluate what their plans might be for him as the year goes along. And then a real, who even knows? Patrick Baldwin Jr. He's got the type of game and size and talent to where early success could change what this team's timeline for his is greatly. I mean, I don't want to bet on rookies in Steve Kerr's system because we know how adverse he is to giving a huge chunk of responsibility to rookies. And he's got the failure of the gave too much too early to James Wiseman storyline kind of hanging over him as well. But Patrick Baldwin Jr. has played better and looked more comfortable than I would have ever imagined just in the preseason.
Yeah, but he's going to do 3 years the way everybody does 3 years. The one difference in Weissman was they drafted him for need, not for potential down the road. They needed a big guy. And the fact that they got to 2, they said, that's the big guy. We're going to use him right away because we need a big guy. And it turns out he wasn't ready for that. And then he got hurt. So I think there were lessons learned there. And in most situations, they would rather adhere to like a 3-year plan, which is what they did with Poole.
It's a luxury. I mean, to be able to draft a guy and say, you got 3 years to kind of figure this out, you must be hanging banners in your gym.
Oh, no, they've been a unicorn of development for about a decade now. And they haven't hit on everybody by any means. They've made their share of mistakes. But
their hits are enough to make you forgive the mistakes almost instantly.
Yeah, but they're there. So it's not like this is infallible.
Right.
And the 2-track thing is not yet guaranteed to be a success. That said, they've been able, for the most part, to slow play young guys because they have guys who have been there for a while and have done what they've done. So, and Weissman is the one exception there, and they got their nose bloodied on it. So I think Patrick Baldwin is going to spend an awful lot of time going up and down Highway 1.
He might be. I'll tell you, he was in here last week when Larry was in for you, and he was incredibly impressive. Ryan Rollins came in as well. You can tell that Ryan Rollins played his college ball at Toledo and probably in his entire run in college met about 5 people with microphones in their hands. Patrick Baldwin's been given the kind of interviews to where he just came in here and was so smooth and so polished and seemed to be very aware of where he needs to get his work done in order to earn those minutes. So, a coach's son. Don't go sleeping on a coach's son for having things click for him, often and early. This is Mike in San Jose wanting to talk about storylines you're looking forward to. Mike, what do you got?
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to seeing the development of Moody. I don't think he's going to get that quite this year because we got our develop already in Jordan Poole. He kind of looked like, Curry. I'm just wondering will Moody look like Klay Thompson and James Wiseman. We got a better version of McGee. He better handle. We just got to get him to rebound that ball and all the other stuff. The times it go comes with it, it's going to come along. But that's all I got. Thank you.
I thank you, Mike. I tell you, just talking about what James Wiseman could do for this team. First of all, he's got about as big an opportunity as a player who has stumbled out of starting gates has ever had. We don't know who he is. The only thing about James Wiseman that we know for sure is that he's been more of a rumor than a reality. The reality that we're looking at from him in early returns from preseason games, it's enough to make you start salivating. It really is. There's a difference between can he represent points and rebounds or can he represent intimidation? I feel like JaVale McGee represented the potential for points and rebounds as long as he never asked him to do too much and played him in small spurts. JaVale McGee represented that element of rim runner. Can he become Andrew Bogut is the question. Can he become like a truly dominant presence for the Warriors at the 5? Obviously, he's not. The game isn't reminiscent of Bogut, but I'm just talking about the shoes to fill. You're more than just a 5 that shows up in the box score. You're a 5 that shows up in other players' anxieties going to the rim. That level of 5. Can he become that? And if he can, I mean, that is the difference between did you top out at 52 wins or did you get to 60? Did you get to 60? I think he's a huge pivot point in this year for the Warriors. They've never had a guy with these capabilities quite as ready to go as he seems to be. I mean, from a picking and rolling standpoint alone, he should be getting 12 a night just off that.
He's got to be okay with not being a focal point of the offense.
Oh, he has to be in his mind, right?
Yeah, no, because I think part of his rookie season's, I don't want to say struggles, but his inconsistencies were that he sort of thought that if I don't have a highlight in this game, I didn't play well enough. And when you cited Bogut, I knew what you meant, because what you were saying was he's the guy who does the stuff that makes everybody better. You're the number everybody's going to look at with him. It's going to be rebounds, particularly defensive ones. If he does that and he gets, the one block a game, and doesn't foul out and can play 30 minutes of don't hurt us basketball.
Right. Controlled basketball.
Yeah, because Steve Kerr has never, when he was with Chicago, the least important player of this 5 was the center. And he operates that way with this team too. The center is an adjunct to everyone else. They've got to be okay with that. Bogut was okay with that when he got here because he was at the tail end of his physical career. Luke Longley was okay with that because he was Luke Longley. Bill Cartwright was okay with that.
Big Bill Wennington.
Yeah, that's what you got to be. That's part of what Steve Kerr took with him from Chicago, which is the center is not the linchpin of what we do. But we need to have a center that can allow the linchpins to operate.
Right, that can be a complement for everything else to happen. Steve Kerr, again, with Steiny and Guru just yesterday at Chase Center, talked about how this is the first year that James Wiseman's ever been able to have a normal ramp-up to an NBA season.
His first summer league and first training camp was just these last 6 months. I mean, it's incredible. Last 4 months, I guess. So when you think about that, this being his third year, but he's never had either a summer league or a camp, you can see now he's building a foundation with his game. He's understanding spacing. He's running the floor and getting to the dunker spot instead of posting up and going into his, package of moves. We're really sticking more with pick and roll with him. He's playing with a couple of really good pick and roll players with Jordan and Dante, and obviously Steph when he's out there.
Man.
So James has been fantastic. He's a sponge. He is such a great kid. He works his butt off. He wants to get better. He listens. I love James, and he's going to be really good. If he can, knock on wood, just stay healthy and keep doing what he's doing, it's going to be fun to watch him blossom.
James Wiseman's personal goal this year should be to eventually replace Kevon Looney in this team's routine starting 5. And if he's doing that, man, is everything going well for the Golden State Warriors. By the way, James Wiseman was talking yesterday about how excited he is to just have the opportunity for possibly a normal year.
I'm just excited for myself to go through the regular stages as an NBA player, because, man, my journey was kind of weird, especially starting off due to everything that happened that was out of my control, in a sense. But now since everything is back on track, I'm just grateful and blessed to be back on the court, to be playing. All glory be to God. So, yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
Obviously, we're very excited for the NBA season to tip off tonight at Chase Center. John Dickinson's going to take over at 6 o'clock and get you all set with Warriors warm-up. And coming up at 5 o'clock, for the first time today, Ray and I are going to dive into the NFL. We really haven't had a thing to say coming off a rough 49ers loss in Atlanta, a very interesting week around the league. Basically, the entire league is 3-3. So the Niners did not lose much ground, but, man, they lost a game they probably shouldn't have. To talk about how that happened, how they get it right, and Kansas City coming to town, we got Peter King at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Here on Damon and Ratto, we're brought to you by Fremont Bank, full-service banking, no compromises.
Why spend hours negotiating with a car salesman to get the best price for a vehicle you want to buy?
At BMW of Fairfield, we give you our very best, most competitive price right up front. By eliminating the price negotiation process, we create a comfortable environment that helps our guests enjoy an experience that's often hostile and difficult at other dealerships. There is a better way. Experience it for yourself at BMW of Fairfield. One price, one person, 1 hour.
Kansas City Steak Company, another AmericanEagle.com success story. Started in 1932 as a family-owned butcher shop, today they're a leading distributor of superior all-American steaks delivered right to your door, ready for the grill and your taste buds. When it came to their website, an average site wouldn't do. They chose AmericanEagle.com to take their website to the next level. With a dramatic increase in competition and a softening market demand, they had two challenges: improve their brand presence and message, and produce a positive return. AmericanEagle.com got to work and executed usability studies and detailed audits of site experience, digital assets, and marketing. The result? An integrated digital marketing and customer experience plan, organic traffic increase of 20%, and a long-term roadmap for success. If you love great steaks, go to kansascitysteaks.com for website design, development, and online solutions that bring efficiency and results. Visit AmericanEagle.com. If you need a results-driven website, call the team at AmericanEagle.com at 877-WEBNOW1. That's 877-WEBNOW1.
Is there something really absurd that skeeves you out?
Getting a paper cut on my eyeball.
A fear you can't shake.
I'm going to leak ocular fluid down my cheeks. It's going to go into my mouth and I will perish.
Whatever scares you, I want to talk about it. Join me, Larry Mullins, on my new podcast, Your Weirdest Fears. Listen and subscribe to Your Weirdest Fears on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts from.
Gorgeous gaming, stunning streams, unbelievable bandwidth. It's another Lifestyles of Gagillionaires. Meet the AT&T Fiber customers winning at life with hyper gig speeds. Meet Gagillionaire Terry. While his love of streaming horror movies has him constantly on the edge of his seat, his internet bill won't give him a scare.
Oh, don't go in there. I'm telling you.
Because since Terry upgraded to AT&T Fiber with hyper gig speeds, he doesn't worry about data caps or equipment fees.
Come on, man. The door's open for a reason.
And best yet, he also doesn't stress about a price increase at 12 months, because with the amazing Gagillionaire lifestyle comes an exquisite sense of tranquility. Most of the time. Live like a Gagillionaire. Get straightforward pricing with AT&T Fiber. Internet that upgrades everything. No data caps, no equipment fees, and no price increase at 12 months.
Limited availability in select areas. Visit att.com/hypergig for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts specializes in keeping your car on the road. Not sure how much life is left in your battery? Our professional parts people will test it for free. If it does need to be replaced, we'll help you find just the right one to fit your car. Our Superstar batteries are built to handle even the toughest conditions. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I had a nighttime routine for my frequent heartburn. I would drink milk, I would sleep upright with more pillows, but that painful burning stayed. So I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine. With just one pill in the morning, Prilosec OTC prevents excess acid production, blocking heartburn day and night. Now I have a new nighttime routine. I call it sleeping.
One pill, 24 hours, zero heartburn. With Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
Ad paid for by the Sentinel Group. Attention Marines, military personnel, families, and contractors who were stationed at Camp Lejeune. Were you present at Camp Lejeune between August 1953 and December of 1987? You may be entitled to significant compensation. For nearly 34 years, those in the Marine Corps' base Camp Lejeune were exposed to contaminated drinking water, resulting in devastating injuries, including several forms of cancer, adverse birth outcomes, Parkinson's disease, and more. North Carolina's procedural laws have prevented victims from getting the justice they deserve, but passage of the Camp Lejeune Justice Act of 2022 would allow you or a loved one to file lawsuits seeking compensation for illnesses and injuries linked to the toxic water. Call today for your free consultation. 800-610-9256. Let our experienced attorneys fight to get you the compensation you deserve, and you pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call 800-610-9256. That's 800-610-9256. Again, 800-610-9256.
Hey, it's Moses Moody with the Golden State Warriors. Now back to Damon and Ratto.
So coming up at the top of the hour, thank you, Moses. Coming up at the top of the hour, we have the one and only king of NFL media, Peter King, joining us for his weekly conversation. We have become so enamored with the Warriors opening night that's pretty much all we've been talking about since the show started. So we're going to get you to that NFL conversation with Peter King at the top of the hour. By the way, Michael Irvin stopped on by yesterday and talked about how even with a bad game, the 49ers are still very much in this NFC picture.
Bad game, you let one get away, and it may cost you later on. But the NFC, when you look at what Tom Brady looks like, what Green Bay looks like, you can take that loss and say, okay, we still got a great shot. You know, it's a great shot to come out of that NFC, because I don't know if the old guards, the Tampas, and Aaron Rodgers can get it back together.
Tom Brady looks angry at the world himself in his own life right now, along with his offensive line. And by the way, trying to break down Tom Brady yelling at his offensive line. Serious? Like, Tom Brady's been yelling at teammates and coaches and everyone on the sideline for the better part of 15 years. Like, why is anyone surprised by any of this? Also, Aaron Rodgers is like basically like a dope smoking hippie at this point. Like, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is about to get anything back that is even close to being magical with that group of wide receivers. So, you lose at home to the Jets. I don't know where it bottoms out for you, because that feels like a bottoming out.
This might be where they live the rest of the way. I mean, they're in a bad division, so they've got that to hang their hat on.
Right.
But they look like a 9-8 team.
They do. They really do.
Tampa looks like a 9-8 team. And it's not just because their quarterbacks are a combined 85 years old. Those teams aren't as good. Tampa's defense, which was supposed to carry them, has only been okay. The Packers, I mean, they can't move the ball at all because they have Aaron Rodgers throwing to ghosts, and they can't run the ball very much. As for the 49ers, don't go down 14-0, because if you do, you can't run the ball and win the game. I mean, they ran the ball, 13 times all day? Well, that's because they were never close to being ahead. I mean, even when they were tied, it didn't look like they were going to suddenly take the game over.
No, it didn't, but that to me is, one of the arenas where Kyle's got to start cleaning this up. I mean, right here it is. It's year 6. You got as much continuity as any NFL team can shake a stick at. That includes all of the injuries, most of them right now on the defensive side of the ball, which has nothing to do with this offense.
No, I see, but I don't think the offense is not going to save them. They're going to have to be saved on the defense. And if the defense is as banged up as they look right now, there's not much they can do about that. But the offense is not going to save them. You got to get past that.
Well, but here's the deal. At one point, they will be asked to do that. They were asked to do that in Atlanta. And I thought that the offense did more to suggest that they could do it than Kyle Shanahan did to suggest that he can call the game to get that done. And a damning statistic, Kyle Shanahan has never won a game in which he has trailed by more than 4 points at the end of the third quarter. That's damning. That is a damning statistic for a guy who is a supposed offensive genius, who's got a lot of continuity, and it's year 6. Like, it's supposed to be whatever your version of humming is, it's supposed to hum a little bit at this point. And let me tell you, for a guy who is Mr. Conservative, and it is his conservative nature to be an offensive coach and conservative, by definition, conservative offenses shouldn't be turnover machines. Since coming into the league in 2017, the 49ers had the second most turnovers in the NFL.
Yeah.
That means Kyle is not cleaning up what he needs to clean up or getting laid down what he needs to get laid down in the first place. I mean, I'm sorry, at some point, the head coach in his 6th year, who's supposed to be a genius with a losing record, who does everything offensively, has got to have an offense that looks better than this. I'm not calling for his job. I'm not saying he's bad at his job, but it's got to get better than this. And if I'm Jed York, I'm walking into his office and just saying, look, man, here it is. You know, D'Amico found a way to get a job done. It's time for you to start finding ways to get the job done. And, I am thoroughly unimpressed with the 49ers offense, and I want to give Larry full credit because he mentioned it, and I think he's totally right. The 49ers offense does not equal the sum of its parts. That's coaching. When you have this much talent, even with the degree of whatever Garoppolo's talent is this week, you're supposed to be better than that.
I never buy look at how much talent they have. At some point, your talent is what it shows. And I don't think this is entirely an issue of, God, they're loaded with players everywhere but the one place. If they were, it would manifest itself on a consistent basis, either the running game or the passing game. And it doesn't. So maybe they're not as talented as we think they are.
Let me just
maybe the talent. Well, let me finish. Maybe the talent that people keep pointing to on the offensive side is actually on the defensive side, and has been. That this is a defensive team, and it may frustrate the hell out of 49er fans who believe that their birthright is to see great offensive teams year in and year out. It's not been the nature of this team.
I'm not asking for greatness. I'm asking to play a little faster when you're down 14 in the fourth quarter and you run an 8-minute drill. That is the dumbest coordinated fourth quarter offensive attack I've seen in a very, very long time. The 49ers were coming out and whistling through their own graveyard with that limp-wristed, pathetic 80-yard, 16-play, 8-minute drive that resulted in a turnover on downs. That can't happen. If you're this deep into your, this is who we are, this is our coach, he defines us, you can't be playing like that. You can't, especially against a defense that doesn't shut anybody down. No one. But they shut the Niners down. And again, I'm not going to argue, about the level of it, but Deebo Samuel, top 10 NFL receiver? Top 10 NFL playmaker, shall we call him?
I don't know if he's top 10.
George Kittle, top 10?
Not as much as he used to be. He might be top 10, but he used to be top 3. That was like 3 years ago before he started getting banged up.
Would you say Ayuk is a top 30 NFL wide receiver?
Maybe 40, 45. I think he's a second receiver on most teams.
Right. And
so that puts him somewhere between 33 and 64.
So they have more talent than to basically score no points almost every single time out in the second half. The 49ers are 19th in total offense. They're definitely more talented than that. They're 19th in scoring offense. They got to be more talented than that. They're scoreless in the second half again on Sunday, and teams are adjusting to the 49ers offense at halftime to the point where they shut it off like a spigot on a hose. And the Niners are getting their asses coached off by their opponent every week at halftime. And that's on Kyle. So we're going to talk to Peter King about all of this in just a minute. Lucas just told me he's running a couple of minutes late. So I guess we can tell you
That's
now.
not good enough.
That's all right.
He should run laps.
He will be here. I don't want him out of breath. He will be here coming up just after 5 o'clock. In the meantime, I do believe I'm a little late, but better late than never, to let you know that from the Bronx, we've got a final. 5-1, the New York Yankees have eliminated the Cleveland Guardians, and they are heading to the ALCS to meet the Houston Astros. Phillies and Padres, they get going in about 5 minutes from now down at Petco Park. Zach Wheeler against Yu Darvish. So there you go. We got ourselves our NLCS and our ALCSs. Our Final Four in baseball is here. Either the Phillies, Padres, Astros, or Yankees. One of those four teams is about to be a world champion.
The best thing about that is all those narratives about, this new system, it punishes good teams. Nah, not really. Two bad teams in the NL, the two best teams in the AL. Stuff just happens.
Baseball's like that. Baseball's a cruel mistress, man. It doesn't reward the best team ever.
And it doesn't, but it doesn't reward people who want to take something that they saw a week ago and say, aha, this is a trend for the future. Well, 2 days later, it's not really that much of a trend.
Although 111 wins is also a decent enough total to not just dismiss.
No, but
it's one of the great regular seasons ever.
But that's on the Dodgers. That's not on the system. The system's got to be tested more before you can make any conclusions. I mean, the Astros, they were the second best team in baseball. They swept, even though it took them 4 games to win those 3 games. And the Yankees, after a stuttering start, they got past Cleveland, so the second best team got in. So I'm just talking about the great scream that the system is biased against good teams. Good teams show it in October. That's the definition of October.
I think the only real criticism that you could have into the system is the bye an advantage, because it does feel like rest and rust have been correlating with postseason results, and teams that get to just keep on playing almost if it's regular season baseball come in a little hotter.
Well, I think that's probably true, and you know what you're getting then, and you'll love this as a purist. You're going to get this. You're going to get the 8-team playoff in each league.
Oh,
because that's the only way you avoid a bye.
Welcome to your 5 o'clock hour.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco. Always live on Twitch, YouTube, and the free Odyssey app. Damn well better be free.
It is opening night for the Warriors at Chase Center. We've been talking about it all day. We got Peter King coming up, going over the NFL week and season to date in just a minute. But Draymond Green was featured in a documentary kind of that he shot leading up to this year, which obviously pivoted at the end of the documentary to what happened at practice just a couple of weeks ago. And apparently, new media is lifting from some of your favorite old media entities to put together the doc. Here is Draymond's special on TNT. This aired, and apparently Steiny, Guru, and yours truly are a part of it.
I never once thought no one would hear about it. Nothing stays in-house these days. Everything gets to the media.
A video came out of Draymond Green at practice.
TMZ released this video of Draymond punching Jordan Poole.
This is the biggest crisis that we've ever had.
That's not like one of those fights where you come back and you're great buddies.
This is a bigger story than anyone wants to admit.
If I were him and I did that, I would say, you know what? I don't even deserve to be at ring night.
I actually woke up to the video. Once I woke up to the video, I don't know if the dynamic necessarily changes or not, because you never really know people's opinions right away. So you get at a time, you give it some time to allow people to throw their opinion out, which quite frankly, I don't care about people's opinion. And to be totally honest with you, I never really knew how much it blew up, because I don't really spend much time searching Instagram or looking through comments. I don't spend much time. I don't really read many tweets at all. And so I was just at home chilling with my children. If you want me to be honest with you, I still don't know how much the world may think it blew up.
Okay, so just a few notes off of that. B+ acquisition of sound bites from this radio station. A+ ominous music choice by TNT. I mean, my God, that was. Did we just watch the opening montage in Hellraiser to get everyone? Did the Undertaker just enter the building? I mean, my gosh. A+ ominous music choice right there, Ray.
Yeah, they do what news broadcasts do now. Is they'll show you film footage with no narration, but the foreboding movie trailer.
Boom, boom, boom,
yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. I also don't believe for a second that he's not paying attention to what he does. You can't be as obsessed with a future career in media and be like, yeah, I don't even pay attention to new media, even though I'm trying to hashtag the phrase new media and copyright it, essentially. So, there's a lot that I love about Draymond. He's always interesting. I also think that he's completely full of it when he says he doesn't have rabbit ears for everything about him. Not that he reacts to things like Kevin Durant does, but I think he is aware of everything.
No, I think he's aware of everything, that not only just about himself, but about the team in general.
Right.
I think he pays attention to a great deal. And I don't hold that as a demerit one way or the other. But it's true.
Yeah. There was someone.
Even if he didn't, there are people around him who do.
Right.
And will tell him.
Right. He's got friends in the Bay Area who go to the grocery store and listen to us.
Yeah. Not us. I mean, why would anybody do that? But there is no way that any of these players who say, "Oh no, I never pay attention," can escape it. That's not a choice they get. That's part of the deal.
Right.
It is in their face. It's in the back of their heads, and it's what they do with that bombardment of information that determines how well they are able to deal with it. But deal with it they must.
Part 2 of the Draymond intro on TNT.
There is like this dark cloud in the room, and I caused that, so I apologize to his family. For me, that is the task at hand, to rebuild trust in our locker room. I felt as a man, I felt as a leader, that I will do everything that I can to make this right, or to right the ship, and to help this team, to help Jordan, his family, and move forward from there.
I am wondering why there is no suspension and there's this verbiage of he's stepping away.
Mutual decisions. We feel like this is the best decision we can make going forward.
I love the shine that Guru got. That's my favorite part of the entire montage. Huzzah, Guru. Here on 95.7 The Game. And huzzah to Peter King. Another audience with the King on a Tuesday afternoon. And Peter, Ray is back just to talk to you today. How you doing? Thanks so much for joining us as always.
Everything's good. I had an interesting day. I was over at the NFL meetings where Jim Irsay gave every sports writer in America an absolute jolt of joy, in basically saying we got to get Snyder out of this league. Anyway,
yeah,
here we are.
No, and look, we'll get to the 49ers in a second. Everyone knows what happened in Atlanta, but for those who are at work today and don't know what Jim Irsay said, the Colts owner is basically the first NFL owner to say publicly that there is merit to removing Daniel Snyder. I believe that that's the direct quote. And as far as I'm concerned, Peter, he's like the perfect guy to deliver this message because he doesn't hold a great deal of NFL owner gravity, but fans love him, and all of his flaws are completely on the record. Like, unless he's got bodies buried and things we don't know about that are business dealings, him and his struggles with prescription medicine and DUI, like Jim Irsay is flawed enough to get out ahead of this story and I think have it land pretty well with the public.
And look, he even said that today. He said, I don't care what, because obviously there are these significant rumors that that Daniel Snyder has asked for all the owners in the NFL who have skeletons in their closet, or has asked his attorneys to look into these owners, has asked his attorneys to look into Roger Goodell, all that stuff, which he fervently denied, absolutely fervently denied in a statement after the meetings today. But look, I think the biggest thing in here is that someone has chosen right now, someone in the NFL, one of the 32, one of the 31 really, has chosen to break ranks. And I don't think he did this at the behest of Roger Goodell or at the behest of a cabal of owners. I think he did it because he's like so many owners in the NFL. He is sick of an owner who over and over and over again diminishes the value of a not only once proud franchise, but 25 years ago, this was a top 5 franchise in the National Football League. And I can tell you, I covered the NFC East for 4 years in the 80s. I went to 15 games at RFK Stadium. And there was no place like RFK Stadium. I'm talking about no place. And by that, I mean that when a game got exciting, when a game got heated, you'd be up in the press box, which, like hung over the side of the upper deck. And you'd be in the press box, and you'd be shaking to the point where you had to hold on to the table in front of you. Okay, and that has just been diminished to the point where now this franchise is excited if they sell out their stadium and 2/3 of the fans are for the Philadelphia Eagles or the Dallas Cowboys. It's disgusting. It's shameful. And all these people who their whole lives had worshipped Joe Gibbs and Joe Theismann and Bobby Beathard and everything, they don't pay attention to this team anymore. They don't care. This owner has to be removed. He just does. And whether he does it voluntarily or the NFL does. And let me tell you one other thing. The way the owners in this league think, you know what they think? This is a jewel franchise. And every year he tarnishes the jewel more. He makes it worth less money. At the bottom line, the guys who own franchises in the NFL, they're concerned about the value of their franchises. And every year that Daniel Snyder owns this team, the value of their franchises is diminished by how horrible, the value of this franchise is. Anyway, just a couple of thoughts.
Okay, yeah. As a practical and political matter, not as a right or wrong matter, why Irsay and why not somebody else, other than the notion
because
that...
I talked to Ray.
Yeah.
Hey, Ray. I talked to somebody who said, we didn't know this was coming. Now, maybe some people did know it was coming, but the guy I talked to after this happened had no idea that this was happening. And I'm not sure that, first of all, even though there was an NFL PR person standing next to him while this happened, I'm not sure that this is what the NFL wanted. Yeah, I think there's a lot of owners who don't mind it, but I also think there is a little bit of, the honor code where we don't go outside the family, But again, who knows? I don't think that's the important part of it. I think the important part of it is that one of the people in this club, in the most exclusive club in American sports history, one of the people violated the code that says you don't go against the family, and Jim Irsay did, and good for him.
Is this an indication in your mind that there are close to enough votes to make this happen?
I don't think there are yet, Ray. I don't think there are yet. I think they want to wait to see what the investigation by Mary Jo White into the culture that Daniel Snyder hath wrought with this team. But I do think there's a lot of people who realize that he's ruining the value of one of the crown jewel franchises of the league. So, again, I would just say everybody in the NFL, I can't think of 5 people in any position of authority who want Daniel Snyder to continue as owner. And everybody wants him out, but until they have some real meat on the bone to get him out, he's not going anywhere.
Peter King here on 95.7 The Game. He opened with the fact that he was at the NFL owners meeting today. That's how we started the conversation, but I think most people around here aren't concerned with the Commanders, their future, or their owner at all. What they're wondering about, Peter, is why Kyle Shanahan decided to run a whistling through the graveyard 8-minute, 16-play drive that ended on downs, that didn't feature a no huddle, down 14 points. He chewed clock like he was up 3 touchdowns, and it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it. Obviously, I read about it, and it does seem like, at best, a quirky decision, at best. However, I think the overriding thought I had at the end of this game was that a team that has a team that is playing a very physical team, like the Atlanta Falcons have become under Arthur Smith, team that plays a physical team and is without, I think, isn't it 11 starters on IR? And 4 other starters who didn't play in the game who aren't on IR, but they were too hurt to play. I mean, this struck me as not an impossible game to win, but a difficult game to win. And a coaching decision which seems dubious, and I agree with you. I don't know that that's the thing I'd be focusing on, but again, I have to admit, I was in Kansas City. I watched only snippets of that game, so I'm probably a bad person to say, horrible this, horrible that. I just will say that this was, to me, a game that was going to be very difficult for this team to win.
Well, then, out of specifics, kind of an overall arcing theme, I think, is that the 49ers offense doesn't quite equal the sum of its parts. And in year 6, that's all on Kyle. He's got more continuity in his locker room, even with the injuries, than most coaches are ever afforded in a single year of a 6-year run. And Kyle's had this now for years. And it seems like, it's way too deep into the Shanahan experiment to be 19th in total offense, 19th in scoring offense, and being rendered scoreless in, second half after second half. In 5 of their 6 games this year, you remove Carolina, they've scored 19 total points in the second half. And at what point does that land on Shanahan's desk?
I guess I would also say that they played on Sunday with an offensive line that started 4 players who are not household names in their own household.
0 sacks. Jimmy had 0 sacks.
Brendel Burford.
Yeah. But they didn't play poorly. I mean, they really didn't. Brendel had some really bad penalties on that drive that we were talking about. But, I mean, Jimmy had no sacks. He had a lot of time. I mean, he was a victim of drops more than he was poor protection.
But also, I think you have to look at, okay, so if that's a good offensive line, you're going to do what the Falcons did on their side of the ball. You're going to run it a lot. They ran it for whatever, I forget, 150, 160 yards. 49ers ran for 50 yards. Now, maybe they should have tried to run more, but obviously they weren't getting much done, in the running game. There are 2 running backs in this game. Wilson and Coleman ran for 28 yards. And again, I did not watch the game, so I can't speak to that. But the one thing I can say is that if you have an offensive line of mostly backups playing in the game, or I should say guys who you would have considered backups on the first day of training camp, okay, it's going to be tough to play a very physical defensive front, okay, as Atlanta has, and to try to dominate that front. And so that's kind of what I saw Just and really, I have to say, that little 12 or 13 minute highlight thing that is on YouTube of every NFL game.
Yeah.
About an hour or so ago, I watched that of this game. So I mean, that's because I knew we were going to be talking about the game, obviously. So I just didn't see enough to know whether there are darts to be thrown at the game plan or whatever.
Well, in that regard, let me just ask one other broader question. Since we've, I've talked about what Kyle hasn't done. How much credit in your mind does Shanahan deserve for consistently having a great defense?
Well, I mean, I think what was interesting about this game the other day, I mean, you think of all of the guys who were unavailable in this game. And it's not just Armstead, Bosa. I mean, look at all the injuries they have on defense. And so I would say, with the exception of Ebukam, that it's likely that they started 3 guys on the defensive line who would, in an ideal world, would not have been starting in this game. And I think if a team is going to run a lot against you and run well, then that's got to be considered. But I also think that when you look at the depth of a team, and again, I think that one of the things that Shanahan and Lynch and Adam Peters deserve credit for is that they haven't always agreed on everything. Going back to that first draft, they haven't always agreed on everything. But they come out of both the draft and the setting of the roster as a united front. And so, and I only mention that because that's not entirely common in the NFL. You can probably figure that. But I just think that the depth they have on their 53-man roster allows them to be competitive when they're down quite literally 15 starters going into a road game against a team that looks like it might be pretty good.
What do you make of the notion that even with their profound inconsistencies, they're in no worse shape playoff-wise than they were before they played Atlanta? And does this look to you like a conference in which one, maybe 2 teams might be excellent, and everybody else is going to be in that morass till the end?
Look, we got 11 games to go, Ray, but right now, I think there's only one team that's excellent, and that's Philadelphia. Minnesota is 5-1, but their strength of victory, among the 7 NFC playoff teams right now, there's only one, and that's the Rams, that's worse than the Vikings. Kirk Cousins has been just okay. I don't know how good Minnesota is. I really don't. So I think there's only one superior team. I might right now say that the New York Giants are more dangerous than the Minnesota Vikings. But if you look at the NFC West right now, I cannot imagine that the Rams are going to be able to make the playoffs. I mean, I find it hard knowing what they are right now to believe they're 3-3. Seattle might be better than the Rams. We can sit here and say that the Cardinals are going to be an absolute dumpster fire the rest of the year, because I think they will be. But as crazy as this sounds, it just might come down to San Francisco and Seattle in this division. But again, I think the 49ers are fortunate, to be in a division where there's no other team. The 49ers are flawed because they're incredibly injured right now. But you look at the other 2 teams. I'm just not going to consider Arizona. But you look at the Rams in Seattle, and they're also flawed. I think, as crazy as it sounds, first year post Russell Wilson, Seattle might be the least flawed team in the division. I'm not saying that they are, but they might be.
Peter King on Damon and Ratto. So one of the formulas that I think the 49ers are going to be leaning on is the fact that, basically the league is 3-3 around them. The division is mostly 3-3 around them. And they only have 3 true road games remaining with the game waiting for them in Mexico City. They've got 7 home games left. And if they just go 6-1 in those 7 home games remaining, that's 9 wins right there, and then we'll see what they do on the road. That one, I think, gets dialed up, though, this weekend. Kansas City is coming to town, licking its wounds after a home loss to the Buffalo Bills. I would imagine Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are coming into Levi's Stadium to just unleash hell.
Well, I don't think, I was at that game in Kansas City. And look, with 1 minute to go in that game, they were ahead, and, Josh Allen made the throw of the year in the NFL. He threw it about 3 inches above leaping safety, and Dawson Knox's tight end was blanket covered by Justin Reed, and somehow, some way, he came down with the ball. That's just the most incredible throw of this year. But anyway, be that as it may, it's not like Buffalo came in, and even though everything that Kansas City tried to do was a chore on Sunday, nothing was easy. It's not like Buffalo came in and just wiped the floor with them. So I think Kansas City's pretty good, and this is a bad time for the 49ers to be playing them. It just is. There's no question about it. But I think the other point that you make, you're absolutely right. If you look at the way that the 49ers schedule lays for the rest of the year, I mean, I look at this schedule right now. So a lot of things before the start of the year, you would say, boy, they got the Bucs in December and blah, 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 blah. I mean, there is not one game on this schedule after they play Kansas City this weekend where I'd bet against the 49ers. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to win them all, but they are going to be in every one of those games for the rest of the year, 10 of the last 11 games, even if they lose this game against Kansas City by 10. And again, look, it's at Levi's. You don't know. Football's a funny game. I think Kansas City ought to win the game, but hey, we'll see.
Is there anything to your mind that suggests that the 49ers' defensive injury problems are going to be chronic, or did they all look like, this is just 1 week, they'll get back sooner or later? Or are you seeing a sign that maybe this is something they're going to have to struggle with throughout a lot of those easy games that you cite?
Do you remember 2 years ago when they had that bizarre game against the Jets where everybody got hurt on the turf at the Meadowlands?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And then they went to West Virginia. They licked their wounds. They were hugely pissed off at the condition of that field. And the NFL sent somebody out to check the field and all this. It was kind of a big to-do. And then they came out the next week, after having been absolutely devastated by injuries, and they beat the Giants by 300 points. And so, I mean, I think football is a really, really emotional game, and that about 2 or 3 days after you have time to take a deep breath, sleep in your own bed a couple of days, the 49ers will go into work tomorrow for the first full day of the week, and they'll go into work tomorrow, and they'll just say, okay, let's go. What's the game plan against Kansas City? I don't think that they're going to have a hangover from this game against Atlanta. Now, I mean, they don't want to get beat 33-10 against Kansas City, but I just feel like there's a reason why these seasons really go back and forth and kind of go crazy each year. And it's because different things buffet your team depending when you play them, And so right now the 49ers are totally beat up, and you'd wish that you got him in week 15 instead of week 7, but that's just the way the schedule falls. I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be that concerned if they lost decisively to Kansas City.
Peter King, the last thing we see is still, among the first things on our mind, and the flop landing of Russell Wilson in Denver is really something else, considering how great he had always looked against the 49ers specifically. There is a huge disconnect in Denver. Who is more responsible for Russell Wilson's career, either like looking good or looking bad? Do you think Nathaniel Hackett has brought out the worst in him, or did Pete Carroll, God bless the old codger, just know how to restrict him and bring out the best in him? And this is maybe what it looks like when you let Russ eat, if you will. I can't believe what a failure to launch the Denver Broncos are.
So, coming into this year, Russell Wilson had played 10 years in the NFL, and his lifetime completion percentage was 65. He was in the top 5 or 6 in NFL history in passer rating, which not a lot of people love the passer rating stat, but it is a little bit of a measuring stick that you can compare quarterback to quarterback over the years. But even if you don't care about that, all right, even if you just don't care, the one thing that really strikes me about Russell Wilson is how indecisive he is. Just, I think we watched the game last night and we saw how Russell Wilson hit that, that rookie tight end, Greg Dulcich, for the touchdown, 39-yard touchdown early. And we say, okay, he's coming back. But what was it about that 39-yard touchdown that was most interesting? In my opinion, the fact that nobody covered him. You and I, not Ray, all right? But you and I, Damon, could have thrown that touchdown pass. And I'm saying that what really hit me, then watching how horrible the offense was the rest of the day, is that we kind of got deluded by the fact they put up 10 points on their first couple of possessions, because it's easy to score a touchdown when the other team doesn't cover the receiver. And I would be worried now that the head coach of this team doesn't have a solution when crisis hits. And, right now, obviously, they are in a crisis. They're in a free fall. And they have played 6 games. Russell Wilson has thrown 5 touchdown passes, and he's on pace to throw half the number of touchdown passes that he had in his average year in Seattle. And I don't think that anything really is going to become a Russell Wilson. He will come back in the off season. He'll work his rear end off after this debacle to make sure it never happens again. But my gut feeling is that he's probably going to have a new coach to do it with.
When you return from Kansas City, how well fed are you?
That is one of the great eating places in the United States.
It sure is.
And I'll tell you what I did on Saturday night. I found a place. I was staying in this place in Kansas City called Country Club Plaza. It's a nice neighborhood. Andy Reid lives there. Dick Vermeil used to live there when he was the coach. And it's where a lot of the upper crust lives. And the reason I love that is because there's 4 or 5 restaurants that you get closed out of one, you just go into another. And it was such an insane time in Kansas City that every restaurant was full. So I had to eat at the bar with 2 TVs, and I watched the end of Alabama, Tennessee, and I watched maybe inning 6 through 13 of that bizarre Seattle-Houston game. And the food was unbelievable, and everything about the atmosphere was unbelievable. Even the chant of, land of the free and home of the Chiefs, which they say all the time. So anyway, that's a fun place to go watch football. And I'll tell you, when it's 64 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, and a light breeze wafting in from the east, and you play a football game in that, and no one takes their seat for the entire game, it's just like a British soccer crowd. That was an incredible experience.
Arrowhead indeed does it right. Peter, so do you. Thank you so very much for joining us as always.
Okay, all the best, guys. Thank you.
There he is. Peter King, well fed in Kansas City.
And they want to build a new stadium.
It'd be a mistake.
Of course it would be.
Unless you're literally going to basically make it Arrowhead Part 2, with 20,000 more seats in it, it's a mistake.
I don't know the Arrowhead Part 2 with 20,000 more seats in it works. It's that you've got 80,000 now. 100,000 seats?
It's perfect. It's
in
perfect
eastern
the way
Kansas?
it is.
Yeah.
Right. It's just perfect the way it is.
And it's not falling down. It's not in any state of disrepair.
They just dumped like $500 million in it not even 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Stadiums now, if they're 20 years old...
They're old.
Yeah, they're old. I mean, I don't know why the Giants continue to play in the dump they play in down the road.
I think Arrowhead's one of the great game day experiences there is in the NFL. And as an eating town, everyone comes back from Kansas City 5 pounds heavier with a blood pressure issue. Everyone. If you don't, you did it wrong. There's no salad in Kansas City. Like, they even reject macaroni salad and potato salad. They just don't like that word, the S word, unless it's smoky.
Oh, no, they'll make you a fine salad, but it's going to have other stuff in it.
It'll be pulled pork.
Yeah, I mean, no, they'll cut up a sirloin. Just go, here you go. That's a salad piece of meat.
Yeah, that's salad. That's salad meat, not meat. If it were meat, it'd be over at Oklahoma Joe's, which is still one of the great culinary experiences of my life.
Yeah, fill up your car, get some to go.
It's fantastic. It truly is. So, thanks to Peter King for joining us. There are interesting things happening in the NFL for sure. This Jim Irsay story, again, it's the first, as Peter described, kink in the armor of the Cosa Nostra that really is NFL ownership. You never go against the family, certainly publicly. And Jim Irsay did. And if he stepped out of line to do that, it's interesting. If he was encouraged by 3 or 4 owners under the surface to do that, Ray, it's even more interesting.
I don't think he was encouraged. I think he might just be a rogue.
Again, interesting.
That said, it was interesting that Peter King thought that they don't have the votes yet. In which case, I could see where the other owners might be hot. Because they're going, we don't have our ducks in a row yet. Why are you showing them our cards? Even if it's just 5 minutes of, I think it's time to get rid of them. I mean, how did Irsay think that that's not going to make Snyder that much more difficult to deal with?
Right. You corner him. Yeah, and
You wait till there's no way out, and then you just basically hit him over the head with a skillet.
The old frying pan. Still a great negotiating tool to this day.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is Richie from Santa Clara. What do you got, Richie?
Hey guys, I was listening to one of the Niners beat reporters today on, or not beat reporter, Grant Cohn. I don't know how well he's liked, but anyways, he had the statistic and it just blew my mind. He said that the Niners are 0-26 when they're trailing by 4 in the fourth quarter with Kyle Shanahan.
We've already cited that.
To me.
We've already cited that, and it is a staggering number. There's no doubt about it. Don't mean to cut you off there, Richie, but we're coming up against a break here. But it is a staggering number. Now, there have been games in which the Niners have come back from more than a 4-point deficit in the fourth quarter, but they have never entered a fourth quarter down by at least 4 and won that game under Kyle Shanahan. That's amazing. I mean, it really is. And it just shows you that he knows Kyle can only play right-handed. The minute you make the 49ers play left-handed, he loses. He is the ultimate front runner, which I don't mean as an insult, because if you get out to in front and you can hold it, you win. That's a good thing to do. That's called defense-first football. I'm cool with that. I don't need a pinball game on tilt to enjoy an afternoon of football. I don't. But that is a damning statistic on a guy who, in biggest games of his career, has struggled to find the first down, much less the end zone. That's a problem. And all I'm telling you is that the problems that haunt the Niners week in and week out are in the training room and in Kyle's X's and O's. The minute you make him play left-handed, that's a game that they're losing. And in year 6, you can't be, if you can only pluck one note, you'll never be a great musician. It feels like Kyle is struggling to find any other notes on his football instrument to get the Niners across the win column other than, I mean, look, it's good to have an identity, but you can't have only one identity. You can have your dominant identity, who you are, but what happens when you can't be who you are? What happens when things go wrong? And what happens to the 49ers when things go wrong is they lose that football game all the time. It's a perfect game that gets them to the win column, or it's a loss. And betting on perfect every week in the NFL is a good way to eventually be 6 years into your career and be regarded as a great coach, yet somehow have a losing record, which is Kyle Shanahan.
Well, the idea that he's an offensive genius has always amused me. I know we were up against it, but
look at you.
But here's the thing. Offensive genius, I mean, when they apply it to Kyle Shanahan, it's largely other coaches doing the saying is, man, he designs plays well. But is that all there is to it?
I think the league's caught up to him a little bit.
Oh, I know. I think the league's caught up to him a lot because everybody catches up to everybody eventually. There's a reason why there's only one Bill Belichick. And it's because he can beat you playing his way, and then 3 weeks from now, he can beat you playing your way. That's the difference. And that's why the idea that, people always say, well, Kyle Shanahan isn't a genius, therefore he's not very good. Well, maybe he's not a genius, and maybe you oversold him to yourself. Maybe he's a pretty good coach and a real good coach when he's ahead. But that doesn't make him a genius. It makes him a coach who can hold serve. And I think some people in this town, if not a lot of people in this town, think that he should be able to do more than hold serve. And maybe that's not who he is.
When we do come on back, Ray, we have very little time left.
Yay.
But enough time for me to give you my 6 biggest X factors for the Warrior this season. You will be dazzled by all. You will be agreeable to this list. Do we understand how this show ends?
Yeah, 5:54.
No,
like every day.
5:57 now. Things
What?
changed. When you were on vacation, 3 more minutes got tacked on to showtime. When no one told you?
My ass.
I swear to God. Stick around. 5:57 Ratto should be lovely.
Brought to you by Xfinity. Supercharge your home with supersonic Wi-Fi. Unbeatable internet. Only from Xfinity.
This is your time to cash in at Cash Creek Casino Resort. To rock and to roll. Over the hills and bluffs. Go all out or go all in. With 4 stars and rising stars. Now we do more than ever, so you can do as much or as little as you want. It's your time to cash in at Cash Creek Casino Resort.
Don't waste your time trying to sell your old car. Donate it to Cars for Kids. It's the easiest and fastest way to donate your car and get a tax deduction. Donate online at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your car today.
For all contest rules, Go to 957thegame.com/rules.
It's the bottom of the ninth, the game's on the line, and your small business needs a loan fast. What's your move? Go to OnDeck.com, America's largest online small business lender. With OnDeck, you can apply in minutes, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Go to OnDeck.com. Your loan is on deck. Depending on certain loan attributes, your business loan may be issued by OnDeck or Celtic Bank, a Utah Chartered Industrial Bank member FDIC. Limited eligibility for same-day funding. OnDeck does not lend in every state. All loans subject to lender approval.
Flying Ace, this is Sky Hunter. I've got my compound eyes on the target.
Copy that. You're on his flight path.
I'm going in.
Got him! Nice move, my four-wing friend.
Tasty. That mosquito never saw me coming.
See how dragonflies catch a mid-air meal at Bugs, a new exhibit at the California Academy of Sciences. Explore the secrets of bugs, massive models, and more. Now open. Get tickets at calacademy.org.
Everything, our farm, our stand, our pop-up shop, it really all started when we discovered the benefits of local, raw honey for our family.
And then we decided to turn it into a business.
We were looking for something to help us get up and running.
So we got the Chase Business Complete Banking Account.
It's more than a bank account. It comes with Quick Accept, which lets us take card payments anytime, anywhere in the U.S. using the Chase mobile app. Plus, we get same-day deposits at no extra cost. For us, it's more than honey. It's about sharing a little sweetness with the world.
Get the Chase Business Complete Banking Account with the essentials you need to help get your business going. Learn more at chase.com/business-complete-banking. Chase for business. Make more of what's yours. Quick Accept is not available in U.S. territories. Enrollment required. Usage subject to approval. Same-day deposits available for payments before 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Sunday to Friday. Fees and rates apply for checking and processing. Limitations and restrictions apply. Participants compensated. Merchant services provided by Payment Tech LLC and WePay Inc. Subsidiaries of J.P. Morgan Chase Bank and a member FDIC.
At BMW of Fairfield, our guests work with one client advisor through the entire transaction. No handoffs to multiple car salesmen. No waiting for a finance manager to take you to a back room. Client advisors at BMW of Fairfield are thoroughly trained in every aspect of the process, so they can lead you efficiently and effectively through the purchase from start to finish. There is a better way. Experience it for yourself at BMW of Fairfield. One price, one person, 1 hour.
Kirby is your driveway mechanic. They bring the shop to you with brake replacements, oil changes, washes, and so much more. Get $50 off your first oil change with code OIL50 at Kirby.com. That's CURBEE.com and use code OIL50.
Are you ready? At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why MVP's rewards members can earn bonus points on select products from brands like DeWalt, Purdy Paint Applicators, and GRK Screws. Then redeem your bonus points for exciting rewards like tools, grills, Lowe's gift cards, and more. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today to start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Subject to program terms. While supplies last. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details. Now through 10/28.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. So you have to drive 300 miles to your cousin's wedding. Okay, so it's his fourth. But you know what they say, fourth time's the charm. Well, here's the problem. Your tires are as bald as I am. But lucky for you, eBay Motors has tires for just about every make and model. Plus wheels, lug nuts, jack stands, and more. 122 million parts. Do they have tissues? Oh, good, because I'm definitely a crier. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Bianna's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Charging a cell phone can be like getting a booster shot. A booster is given to enhance or restore protection after a primary series vaccination, which wanes over time. Schedule an appointment when you are eligible. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
Here's what happened today on The Game. Presented by the County of Santa Clara. The morning roast from 6 to 9.
And I'm just looking at the Warriors like they are going to celebrate their 4th championship against the Lakers. Against LeBron during the height of the LeBron era.
Willard and Dips from 9 to noon.
I guarantee you right now that the 49ers are not 3-5 when they get to the bye.
I guarantee it.
You guarantee
I guarantee.
Steiny and Guru from noon to 3.
You could be 4th or 5th seed. They play the smartest brand of basketball since the Duncan Spurs. They can win it wherever they're slotted at.
And Damon and Ratto from 3 to 6.
We got ourselves actual basketball happening tonight. Not just at Chase Center, but we're tipping off the NBA season. And I'll tell you that 3 of the 4 teams in play tonight could be your NBA champion.
Best of the game. Presented by the County of Santa Clara. Book a COVID-19 booster shot now at sccfreevax.org or call 211.
This is Kevon Looney. Welcome back to Damon and Ratto. Take it away, Damon.
Oh, thanks, Kevon. How about that? It is Damon and Ratto here. Final segment of the day. Warriors basketball. Ray, my favorite sports TV show, is back on the TV tonight. It's also going to be back on your radio, obviously, here on 95.7 The Game. But tonight, we get to watch Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green all play basketball together. And even though we've been yelling at one of the 3 prongs of that triangle lately, it's always a great show. I mean, it really is. It's my favorite show on my TV under the subject of sports. It's outstanding, and we get it tonight. I'm happy. I'm a basketball honk, man. I'm a hoops junkie. And we get the best show that, I get to chase my dragon with, that satisfies my junkie basketball craving. We get the best show on Planet Basketball tonight, and it's ours. I like that an awful lot.
It's the Lakers. Ugh.
It is.
And I don't dislike the Lakers, but they are a hard watch.
You hate the Lakers.
No, I couldn't be less interested one way or the other, but they are a lousy team to watch. They just are. I mean, LeBron James, all due respect, but that was a hard team to watch 2 years ago when they won it.
Yeah. I mean, look, LeBron in year 20. I can't pretend I'm not interested in that. What's that going to look like?
It's going to look like last year did, because everything around him was a disaster.
But if he's still, seriously getting 30 in year 20, that's amazing. He's an amazing performer.
He will average as many points as they have wins.
You think they're going to win 30 games this year?
I think there's an excellent chance they'll win 30 games.
You think LeBron's going to get 30 this year? I mean, that's...
Oh, that I believe. LeBron James can get 30 points in... not just in his sleep, but in a profound coma.
Mo Money in San Francisco. What do you got? I guess we don't got Mo Money. There you go. Well, that's okay. That gives me all the opportunity in the world to give you my 6 biggest X factors for the Warriors this season. I won't tell you that they're in no particular order. They're in a particular order, but I don't know if I got my order right or not. Here we go. Number 1, Wiggins reborn. If NBA Finals Andrew Wiggins is the Andrew Wiggins we get in this regular season, hot supper, boys and girls. I don't know what more to tell you. That's a 60-win team without even trying almost. If Andrew Wiggins is NBA Finals Andrew Wiggins all throughout this regular season. Number 2, a rebuilt, rebooted Klay Thompson. If Klay Thompson becomes one of the best defensive players in the NBA again, if he can move like that again, what's required to be in front of someone, look out, everybody. Like a significant presence that makes the loss of Gary Payton II easier to absorb. Can you imagine, Ray, if they now have 3 options to deploy on whoever the other team's best offensive player is every night? And those options are Draymond Green, Andrew Wiggins, and Klay Thompson. That is a luxury very few NBA coaches have ever been handled. Like, you got 3 options to throw defensively at the other team's best player tonight. That would be remarkable. That is an embarrassment of riches for Steve Kerr and Ron Adams.
It's almost too much, quite frankly. I think you'd be better off just picking 2 guys on their best guy, sticking the 3rd guy on their second best guy, and then saying, okay, beat us with your 3rd.
Well, that's ultimately the luxury that they get to enjoy.
Yeah.
Who gets deployed, though, against the team's best player? It's going to be a fascinating night-by-night matchup if Wiggins is really this now and Klay Thompson can recapture the magic. Number 3, I'm just going to call it last year's class. Moody and Kuminga, the two of them playing real minutes this season, turns every single minute crunch that Steve Kerr is worried about, especially in the early going this year, from like an official test to a simple pop quiz. The two of them can make life for Steve Kerr so much easier. They really can. And then you got JaMychal Green, you got Dante DiVincenzo. The second unit of the Golden State Warriors could be as good of a team that maybe you see coming out of the Eastern Conference in the play-in game.
You might be overselling that a bit, but we won't know that. I just think that
Jordan Poole, Dante DiVincenzo, Moses Moody, James Wiseman, and then pick your fifth. That sounds like a team that's 7-8 seed in the Eastern Conference. That's better than the Orlando Magic.
Well, Orlando's not going to be the 7th seed in the East.
No, I know, but I'm saying
they're going to be 15th.
They could crawl in.
And Orlando will have to work very hard to be 15th.
Number 4, a nightly pool party. Imagine if this guy's ascension isn't over. They just gave him the kind of money to suggest we hope it isn't. If Jordan Poole is seriously getting 20 points per game, you talk about making life easier for the Golden State Warriors. That's 60-plus wins right there if he's dropping 20 a night off the bench. You kidding me? Number 5, Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year. Like, here's a guy who's probably no longer on the scholarship that he was enjoying. He's got his entire basketball reputation now to be rebuilt. And if he is magnificent on the court, it benefits the Warriors. It benefits him. Getting back to War Daddy Draymond Green, having a healthy, checked-in year, that's 60 wins right there. I mean, you're a top 2 seed with that happening alone. Those other things on top of it, the win total gets gaudy. And then finally, Ray, this will bring us to the end of the show, your favorite part of it. If the rumor becomes a reality, we already talked about him, but if James Wiseman really goes from I don't know what he is to I know what you're going to get from him night in, night out, and it is a huge compliment to what this team wants to do. The big man that they really haven't had since Bogut, with all due respect to JaVale McGee, who could never really be trusted with more than 12 to 15 minutes in any game. Like if James Wiseman is a trusted agent, to borrow from Jim Harbaugh, look the hell out, NBA, because the Warriors got a tool in their tool belt that they really haven't had before. And we know how successful this tool belt is hammered over the NBA over the last few years. So imagine if. 6 keys. Are you dazzled? How great is it to be back from your vacation reunited with me? I missed you too. I know you were about to say, I missed you so much, Damon.
No, I was trying to add up the seconds before we get to leave.
I missed you too, Ray. Thanks so much to Amin El Hassan and Peter King. Awesome job. Lucas, Grandy, thank you so much. Craig in the back, I've seen him around. There you go. That's all we need. Thanks again to everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned because our man John Dickinson is coming up next with Warriors pregame. And the best show in sports is back on 95.7 The Game in your TNT television tonight. We'll be back to talk about it all tomorrow. In the meantime, please do remember that sports don't build character. They reveal it.
And like that,